Hello, Wakefield. Welcome to the Town Council meeting of April 13th. I now call this meeting into order, and I ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am joined by five of my fellow councilors today: Councilor Chrisley, Councilor Constance, Councilor Butler, Councilor Carney, Councilor Tynes, and myself. Councilor Fox is not here with us today. We will go into public participation. Sherry, is there anyone online for public participation?
No, there is no one tonight.
Okay, anyone in the studio for public participation? School committee member Quinn is shaking her head no. Thank you. We had one email. Town Administrator Casey, can I just pass this on to you?
Certainly.
The public comment that we got.
So we received an email from Susan Ald at 4:26 p.m. and it reads, "Hello, I'm not sure how this actually works. My concern, the front window at Andy's liquor store. He was told a few years back to clean it up. Wondering if anyone has ever followed up. Hopefully this can be brought to the board's attention in some manner. Thank you, Susan." And this is the first that I'm hearing of this issue. So we will have staff look into it and report back.
Perfect. I think it was something when we granted the liquor license to the change of management, we asked them to clean it up. Mm-hmm. So Sherry should have a record of that. And if Erin or you could go and talk to them about that, That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Tynes.
Even if we didn't actually ask them to clean it up, I mean, we do have a bylaw related to coverage for window signs, so the whatever we talked about may not even be relevant given, if they're blocking more than whatever is in the bylaw.
Correct.
That would be something we'd want to address.
Great. Okay. Let's move on to item 6A, 460 to 472 Main Street, an update.
You ready, Madam Chair?
Yes,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll proceed. Good evening. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, here on behalf of the ownership group A&E Realty Trust related to 460 Main Street. With me tonight is Andrea Citos from the ownership group, and Scott Fitzpatrick is to my right. Scott is the project manager, construction manager on the site. The council asked us to come to give an update on the construction, how things are proceeding, to talk about a schedule, anticipated movement forward. Before I did that, for some of the councilors that might not be familiar with this project, it is 460 Main Street. It's fondly often referred to as the Melise Building, where the Melise Restaurant used to be located years ago, and it's across from the Civic Center. It was historically a Maxwell Furniture property. The Melise Building was kind of the low part. The Maxwell Building was the higher part. What has been permitted here by the Zoning Board of Appeals, you can see it on your screen. This is the final rendition of this development. It's a mixed-use project in downtown. It has 6 retail units on the first floor, some of which could be combined if they wanted to, a bigger entity or a bigger restaurant, for example, wanted to go in. So it'd be somewhat flex space. And up above are 16 residential units, 18% of which will be affordable under our zoning bylaw. Out of those units, 12 of them are 1-bedroom or studio units, and 4 of them are 2-bedroom units. There's 22 parking spaces associated with this project. They're behind the building, underneath the building. in the rear. If you go by, you'll see a kind of a concrete block warehouse-type building in the back, and that's where the parking is going to be located. The access to the parking is down an alleyway as you face the building to the left. It used to be 12 feet wide. This project has actually shrunken the building and brought it back towards Melrose. So now that alleyway will be 24 feet wide to allow vehicles to access in and out comfortably as they go in and out. In any event, I believe it's an attractive building. I think the main goal is everyone likes the pictures, but they want to actually see it in place. So with that background, where we are with this project is the foundation work is now substantially complete on the site, and framing has begun. If I could ask WCAT, yep, this is. So the building is, the way the building is being constructed is, as you face the building to right, you'll see kind of the facade with the old lumber on it. That was the old furniture building. That building is being rehabilitated to a certain extent, and this is a picture from inside that building, so you can see all the joists on the floor, all the work that has gone into that to support it with the construction. And then the Melise portion of the building, as you face the building to the left, where the green fence is, if you will, that is all going to be new construction, and out back, it will be connected to where the parking will be. So this is from that vantage point. This is, you can see the foundation work is all done where the Melise portion of the building was, where the green fence is. So, you know, you drive by and it looks like where that green fence is that really nothing's happening, but actually a lot is happening. All the foundation work has been done and completed on that portion of the building, and framing has commenced. So you can see it, this is just a different angle. So this is from the side where that driveway is, which I referenced, looking towards the older portion of the building that will be rehabbed. So you can see the foundation is complete. The lumber is right there. It's been delivered. The framing has commenced. The floor joists went in today. I was there probably at about 1 o'clock today. More recent pictures that aren't loaded, you will see it's come a long way today. So with what that means, our estimate is that the framing will take about 5 weeks to complete. That will take us to approximately May 18th, that the framing on the Melise portion should be complete. After that will be the roof that goes on. That takes approximately 3 weeks, which brings us to mid-June. And once that is done, then the siding and the windows go on the building. That will begin before the end of May. And what Scott has discussed is that he will commence that on the front facade of the building first. So when the siding is, he's going to start the siding on the front, on the Main Street side, in the windows also. So as I mentioned, that will happen before the end of May. And we're pretty comfortable that that front of the building facade will be completed by the 4th of July. And then after that, the rest of the building will, the building will be done simultaneously with a focus on the front. The whole building takes about 2 to 3 months to do the siding and windows. And then once the building is tight, is deemed appropriate by the electrical inspector, that might happen before the siding is complete and the windows are complete. That's a call for inspectional services to make. Then the MEP work can start, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing on the inside of the building, which really doesn't have a lot of impact on anybody. With the end goal, and we think it's a realistic goal, Mr. Cedos is anxious as anybody to get this completed because he has a building and a property he's not making any money on at this point. He's just paying out bills on it. But we believe the spring of 2027, right about a year from now, will be a time for occupancy for the building. So out of respect for the council, Mr. Cedos is here, Scott Fitzpatrick is here. We're happy to answer any questions. But hopefully that gives you an idea of the process. And I think, Scott, if I'm correct, they will notice framing going up vertically in the next few days.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, any Thank you, Mr. McGrail. Any questions or comments? Counselor Chines?
What's this first?
Counselor Constance?
Quick question. Is it going to be apartments or condos? Remind me.
Is it going to be ownership?
Apartments.
Okay,
Rental?
thank you.
Counselor Chines?
Just curious if you could speak about the construction progress in terms of have you run into any sort of unforeseen issues, complications, and are there any risks that you're worried about as you think about the next year of construction to get ready for occupancy next spring?
I can touch on it first, and then you can maybe expand on it. Yeah, basically, it's a very constrained site, as you're aware. Portion of it's rehabilitating a portion of a building, which is an old building. So from a safety perspective, you have to be very careful structurally. The structural engineer's been intricately involved in the process. There's been occasions where he's had to come back. Scott has had to have him come back before workers could go forward to make sure the situation is safe and everything's fortified in the proper way. But I don't think Scott can elaborate and answer the question on if he anticipates further delays in that regard. But also, the winter was really difficult with this site. Because there wasn't a lot of place to put snow. As you know, it just falls into that foundation area and it's just like a pit and you can't remove it. And so, from an ice and cold perspective, it was very difficult. But now with the weather, as you can see, we're moving forward. So Scott, could you elaborate on Councilor Chines' question?
Yeah.
If you foresee anything moving forward?
I don't foresee anything major moving forward. I think we've hit a lot of the roadblocks so far with the geotech investigation. Once we started digging, the soils weren't great. That slowed us down a little bit. We had to bring the geotech back, take a look at what we had there, adjust a few designs on the foundation. Structurally, we have just about everything exposed now for the structural engineer. So I'm not anticipating anything major at this point unforeseen. I think we've already hit a lot of those roadblocks.
When Scott says the soils weren't good, that's more from a support, not an environmental.
Yeah.
The geotech, the ability on how to engineer to support
Keep the building standing.
Yeah, make it
Yeah.
not sink.
Yeah. Can I ask a second question?
Sure.
For the retail spaces, what's the process? When do you anticipate starting to market those spaces and look for tenants there? Is that something you're looking at now, or is that a little ways out given where you are from a construction
We'll
perspective?
do it like 6 months before completion.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've already spoken with Erica Kinder at Community Development. She's been great, and we'll stay in touch with her as we get closer on that for
Okay.
ideas. These are going to be really nice, unique spaces, and newer spaces in downtown.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Counselor Chrisley?
In terms of your construction schedule, do you have all the other major materials procured, your roofing materials and the windows to carry you through the summer construction cycle?
Yes. Yeah, we
Okay.
just placed the window order. We were back at the Board of Appeals getting a minor modification on the windows last week, I think, Brian, and the order was placed this week.
Okay, all right,
We're trying to plan ahead with all the long lead items.
right. Electrical's a long lead item too. You've got the electrical all.
Yeah, our electrician's been working with the light company here in town. They've been mapping out the location for the transformer, size of the service gear, and that stuff.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Counselor Butler?
I think we started off here, I think early on in my tenure on the council, November, I think 2024 was when we first started having, really protracted discussions around this and like being promised the world. It's been a year since you guys were issued permits. Do you feel like you've done a lot of work in the past year, or like have you been actively working this project truly for the past 12 months? Because it seems like not, great you made progress in the last week before you're coming before us, but what about the 51 weeks leading up to that?
Yeah.
I think we're frustrated as a council, I think, with the progress of the project, and frankly, for you've owned it for 16 years and it's been abhorrent for that whole time. So you're like, oh, it's not making money on it. You haven't made money on it for 15 years. So I guess I'm concerned that you're coming before us saying it's going to be spring of 27. How confident should we be that you're going to hit that date?
Well, I can tell you the building permit on this issued in May of 2025.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, so, but the building permit, a portion of the building permit was demo. So, the building permit allowed demo to occur as part of that. And, and then re-engineering. And, like I said, when you look at this building, you don't build it's not building a stick building, out of Legos. You've got an intricate foundation in the downtown area. So all the structural engineering on this was significant. You can see the foundation work that goes in, the design. And so a lot of work has gone in for the past year. I would say, compared to a lot of projects in a lot of other cities and towns, this project's probably moved a lot quicker. This project actually benefits from the Permit Extension Act, which was enacted by the legislature and the governor for projects that were permitted between January 1 of 2023 and January 1 of 2025, that extended those permits for 2 years, the validity of those permits. So I think this project's moved along. I understand the frustration, but you can see what's happening now. We're not going to stop a project in mid-construction. I think you're going to see it move forward fairly quickly.
Okay.
So thank you for coming in. A couple of us, Councilor Constance, myself, and Town Administrator Casey, went and had a site visit. So this is the property that we hear the most about in the entire town. We've had great construction. This is, we've brought you here. Scott, this is the first time I think I've seen you here, but we've, you and your dad came in a while ago. Like, we hear so much about this. And I'm hoping that this timeline is actually a realistic timeline. And I'm hoping Councilor Chines and Town Administrator Casey, I'm hoping, maybe late June, we actually put in a call to Brian to see how it's going. Mm-hmm. My concern has always been that it is the eyesore of our town on our 4th of July parade. And if that facade is not done, we want a screen. We want something to cover up the ugliness that's there. And so if you could just add to your calendar to check in on that. I'm really hopeful about this calendar. This is what we've been asking for so long. I understand May, but it just, I walked by this weekend. I'm not seeing movement, so I'm hoping it's there. So Brian, I hope you can keep the team on schedule, and they'll be checking back in with you. Again, the most comments and complaints I get in town are about this property. It is not being good neighbors for you when you finally do open up. It just doesn't feel like it's a good relationship. So hopefully we can stick to a timeline and get there. 2 other things. I have had concerns about the sidewalk being blocked. Please try to make sure that doesn't happen. Kids use that sidewalk. It's for our businesses. Also, I've had complaints about workers parking in neighborhood side streets and those parking spaces, which is in violation of the CBA agreement, the permits. And so if we keep on hearing about that, we will be sending out enforcement about that. So again, being good neighbors, they're not supposed to park. That was part of the agreement, not parking in those spots and not parking on the side streets. So Brian, if you could make sure that's happening as well.
That's correct, yep.
Yeah.
And Mr. Cedos actually owns the property next door, so they are now able to stage on that property.
Great.
So.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6B, Republic Waste Management Settlement Agreement. Is Joe here?
My apologies, I was hiding in the back. So for the record, Joe Conway, Public Works Director. Joining me today, I have the pleasure of, I think, introducing, is this the first time you've been at the town council?
Yeah, first time.
This is Stephen Bauer. So Steve is one of our highway foremen. Most specifically, Stevie's day-to-day is coordinating everything that is refuse and recycling. In this update, you'll hear me say, that basically everybody pitched in, lended a hand to keep this thing going, but Steve here was the keystone that kind of held it all together. So he's the guy on the street fixing your barrel before you know that it's broken, and ensuring that trash and recycling pickup is as smooth as it possibly can be, and that when you encounter little fires, they get put out as little fires and aren't able to materialize into anything bigger than that. So we have a couple of talking points we'll walk you through and just kind of give you an idea of, what the summer was like from our perspective, and go from there. So kind of kicking it off in the beginning, we knew late spring, yeah. Sorry about that.
I think there's a delay on the screen. The one behind you, I think, is the one that's broadcast. Yeah,
Gotcha.
there you go.
I'll stick with that. I'll stop touching buttons. So we knew in the spring, that our vendor and their union were going through negotiations. Our ears are open, our eyes are open. We have good relationships in the industry. As time was getting closer towards the end of their contract, it was becoming a little bit more apparent that they were closer to impasse than they were to actually coming towards an agreement. There were some sticking points that both sides, didn't seem to really want to budge on. Through Steve's efforts and some other people that we have on staff, we really kept our pulse on it, try to stay ahead of it, because I think everybody, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, knew where this could be headed. So again, strong relationships and having a day-to-day presence in this area really helped us keep up to speed with that. When we got to about June, the likelihood of a potential strike was rising. I don't know if Steve is a descendant of Paul Revere, but when he got the bad news, he rode right to town hall to tell us to start thinking. So lucky it wasn't at midnight for you. But so we started to do some due diligence, right? So we needed a plan B. What was that going to be? We put our heads together with the supervisors that we have on staff and came up with the plan that we ended up enacting. And we had that in place prior to, so July 1st was when their contract was set to expire. We had everything in place at the beginning of that week, just in case, so that if for some reason on Thursday of that week we got no-showed, we were able to roll right out and get after what we needed to do. Some of the things at this time, the potential threats to us and the unknowns, what may or may not have been the contingency plan from the contractor. One of the things, so refuse disposal is handled by a third party, but the collection and processing of recyclables is handled by Republic. So if they were to go on strike and there was a picket line there like they did, do we have an alternative for that material? We're going to collect it. Now, where do we bring it? Obviously, probably the worst weekend outside of a major storm event that this could have really kicked off was July 4th. Again, we had no idea how long the duration of this may be, how this would affect our staff versus, responding to the strike and then regular business. And then, is there even the availability to get a rental trash truck? If you asked me this in June, I would have told you no way. And I was pleasantly surprised that we were able to find an alternative there. So come July 1, we received official notice that the union and Republic didn't come to terms. So about 7:30 that morning, we had everything in place and we rolled out and assumed collections. Credit to our staff. We talked about every possible scenario that you could really have in this type of situation. Never even second guessed it. Everybody understood that, this is something that we're not going to let sit out there, and we'll find a way to make sure that everything goes on the way it's supposed to. Every division in the field helped out. Everybody had, a piece to this. I think, like I had said here before, one time Highway and our Parks Department took the brunt of it. But, we had building custodians, fleet mechanics, water and sewer folks, full-time employees, part-time summer employees. It was all hands on deck. We tried to ration it out so that nobody was impacted too severely where their day-to-day suffered. So one of the ways that we accomplished assuming collection, so it kind of went out in phases. Once we knew that we could get rental trash trucks, and we immediately had 2 in town. Your classic rear load, manual, 2 staff members on the back loading these things up. What we also did, I'll call it the old school approach. We brought in 2 rental front end loaders and 4 dump trucks. And we put those in recycling because it was lighter. And the goal was to get everything off the street. With that, as luck would have it, we had just replaced our small trash truck that the town operates day to day. We did not take our old one off the road, and we actually ended up running that simultaneously as well. So we picked up an extra, I'll call it a half a truck because it's small. We had two folks, so Steve and another one of our staff members out there, essentially coordinating everything day-to-day, boots on the ground. And really what they had to do is teach everybody how we pick up trash and put together a program so that, we could do it as efficiently as we could. And, there was some late nights at first.
There was.
The first night we were out till probably 8 o'clock, but as we got going, we found that we could get super efficient with this, and it continually got better and better and better as it went on. And then in the office side, we had multiple people working back-end logistics. So where can we take our recycling to? Are there any other things out there that are advantageous to us that'll make this effort a little bit easier? As we found, as it was going, as about as well as it could be, there was the opportunity to get to the right-hand side of this photo some of the automated side loaders that we initially didn't want to do because we didn't have any staff members that ever run one. We were able to take out the labor-intensive front-end loaders and dump trucks and ended up bringing in a third side loader and then ultimately a fourth one. And credit to our staff, they picked it up super fast. But it was efficient, and their ability to think clearly was still there along the way. And by the time we got to the first week of August, we were essentially just running 4 trash trucks, all in-house. This continued 82 days in total, from July 1 to September 19th. By the time everything sorted out, it was about 12 weeks. There was a little bit of catching up to do. Nothing got missed. It was a little bit slower, but we were happy with that. They ratified a contract between the union and the vendor on September 19th, and then the settlement was executed January 5, 2026. So when this all came down to the end, we had submitted to Republic what our incurred costs were. Most of it was rentals, staff overtime. We did have to bring somebody in to finish a line painting because we basically got cut off from doing that right during the middle of this. So that first number that we sent over to them was $298, $553.29. I'm happy to say that in the end of this, looking back at it, we were able to recover that exact amount. So we recovered at 100%. So I know that was a little bit quick. That was kind of the Reader's Digest of what we all lived, but we'd be happy to expand on anything else or answer any questions that you folks may have.
Councillor Carney.
I just want to, as everyone here will agree, you did a wonderful job, and not only did the employees get it done, but it took great leadership, and I compliment you guys for what you did. That's positive from the top down to the bottom. Everybody worked together, and Wakefield, I think, did better than any other town around. I mean, I've heard complaints, and we weren't hearing those complaints. And every Friday, I saw you out front. So, thank you. God bless you.
You're very welcome.
Councillor Chrisley.
Yeah, just really impressed with the logistics, Joe, that everybody put into this. I only got one complaint, and that's my neighbor who likes to complain to me about everything under the sun. So appreciate the logistics. You mentioned the recyclables. Where did the recyclables go during this period?
So because they were, there was a picket line up at Greenworks on Route 1, which is where we normally go. We were very fortunate to be able to utilize another vendor's facility in Billerica. So what we ended up doing was, the reason we had so many of those dump trucks, at least initially, one would fill, one would go. There's a little bit of a longer turnaround time up there, but that was one of the things I was the most worried about because, other than that, you basically had 2 options. You could try to store it and sit on it, or, at what point does it ultimately become waste and now something that we're not commonly paying to dispose of?
Right.
We're incinerating, so.
So you had a longer recycling haul.
A little bit. It ended up timing out okay, though. Most of our loads,
In the beginning, it was tough.
beginning, I would say it was the toughest, but most of the loads are out of town between 9 and 11, so you miss the morning rush. If we had a load at the end of the day at 3:30 and traffic was a parking lot, we would sit on it and somebody would be up there at 6:30 in the morning.
Right, that makes sense. All right, thank you.
Councillor Butler.
Hey, and yes, you guys did a great job. So we got $299. We got reimbursed for the $299,000 it cost us. did we have to pay Republic? Did they give us a quarter of our contract? Like, did we have to pay them during that 13 weeks?
We did. So what ended up happening was 2 weeks into it, roughly, is when they mobilized their replacement crews. So we had some of their staff from different parts of the country in here working alongside of us. So what that credit was the way our contract is set up, it's 12 equal payments for the year. So what that was a contract credit to us.
And how much is that contract per year?
The way that it's split up, I don't have it in front of me. Recycling is lump sum, and it's about 490,000, and I think refuse is about 950. So it's between 1.4 and 1.6 combined.
So we got credited for 300 grand, but in the meantime, we had paid them roughly like 350.
Their bills for July, August, and September were essentially 30% of what they normally would be,
Why was that?
because we were credited for all of the expenses that we picked up. So
Oh, so it
You
was
know,
credited. We
right,
it cut
they
off
had-
70% of the cost, and then
essentially the way that we calculate is if they had 2 trucks in that gave us 8 hours for the day, we were comparing what we were doing versus prorating them.
just in terms of like that we did it so ably and that we ramped up and got our got up to speed. And by like week 12, you're cooking with gas on this. Does it raise the question of should we do this? Like, should our contract with Republic just be? Should we do this internally?
That came up a few times over the summer. I think logistically, you
I
could
think
put
I'm giving Dan on the pension board a heart attack by saying that. but-
you could put it together, but you'd have to, somebody who really understands this would have to come in and weigh what the impact to the town's like general liability insurance would be. It'd obviously be a pretty big capital acquisition that we would need to conduct to do this. And then you wouldn't be able to do it at the current level of FTEs we have. So you'd be looking at bringing people on to accomplish that.
And our cost only dropped by 70%, so it probably would not work to there's probably efficiency out of Republic that they get.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we managed very well for the time we managed. I think everybody was thinking that if we were going into the winter doing this, we were starting to get a little worried, so it timed out pretty good for us. But I don't know. I think it would take a significant effort where it'd actually be cost prohibitive to come back in and do this as a municipality.
Does anybody do it internally?
The only one that I
That
can
we
think of
know
off
of?
the top of my head, Brookline maybe. I don't know if they have transitioned away from it or not, but generally everybody in our area, Melrose held on for a while. They don't do their own collection anymore. I don't know if you move up into like Essex County where you have 2,000 stops a week, what may or may not go on up there, but Metro Boston, it's highly unlikely.
So I think part of why I wanted you on the agenda was, we're talking budget, so we wanted to make sure we acknowledge that we got reimbursed for those costs. I think something as we look at our budget for next year, future years, not this year, because we're getting to the end of this year's budget, was hopefully you and Steve kind of can work on a memo looking at trash fees, looking at why we wouldn't bring it in-house, right, if it was successful, and if the cost, I think the council's looking forward to kind of like a memo about all of that.
Sure.
Working towards, FY28 budget, but also just for consideration and being deliberate about what other communities are doing and what that would intake. Councilor Carney.
One of the issues you have here is magnitude of size. These contractors have large workforces, so when there's injuries, things that happen, it's easy to backfill. When you have a small operation in the town of Wakefield, and you have those same kind of injuries, it expands your workforce, and you can't afford it.
Yep. Nope, completely. And it would just be great to have that all, instead of off the top of your head, have it documented.
Absolutely.
So, and have a conversation about it before we start next year's budget.
So anytime that we have a chance for an RFP in this world to go out, 2 things. We look at it top down and bottom up, and then throw everything with the kitchen sink at it to vet out every single opportunity, and what is most advantageous usually ends up being enacted. So we won't leave any stones unturned, and you get some homework to do now.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our public hearing. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded, great. And I think I have to do a roll call vote. So Councillor Chrisley to open the public hearing.
Yes.
Councillor Constance.
Yes.
Councillor Butler.
Yes.
Councillor Carney.
Yes.
Councillor Shines.
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Casey, come on up.
And this is for a change of ownership for Circle K 448 Salem Street.
Yes, hello. Attorney Tyler Hensler joining you from Boston on behalf of Circle K. As you just heard, this is a change of beneficial interest or ownership interest as a result of a corporate restructuring, basically the insertion or change of intermediary parent companies, essentially holding companies for insurance and liability purposes. There will be no change in the operations here in Wakefield, at the Wakefield location at all. There's also an LLC manager change that was filed as well, but it's not an actual LLC manager on the licensed entity. It's actually, they're removing a real property signatory on the Secretary of Commonwealth website, but they filed that just in case. This is, again, no change at the Wakefield store level, operations level. It's essentially something that the ABCC makes licensees file so that they make sure that their records and the town's records are up to date as to ownership. But again, no operations. Joining me to my right is the manager of record, Nancy Bonogli. She's here to answer any questions. I understand this is a newer license. So Nancy, do you want to share how it's been going?
So far, so well. A lot of familiar faces from when I was in here last year applying for the license. We have been taking it very seriously. I've included in my packet, signs we posted for hours of selling. I've also became TIP certified in January before the license was issued, as well as 4 staff members. I have a total staff of 10. The ones that are licensed and the tips are the ones that are there during hours of selling. Additionally, I am available to the store 24/7, as we are open 24/7. I live here in Wakefield, and they know that they can always reach me if needed. It's pretty much exactly what we anticipated. It's become convenience. We're not really drawing in a crowd that's just coming in for the beer. It's people that are normally shopping there and have shopped there that are like, oh, I didn't realize you had beer. And they'll pick it up along with whatever else they're getting. Again, it's, posted. The company just came out and completed end of January a beer cave, which I also have pictures of. It is to the right of the store when you enter. It is completely encased and is locked every night at 10 p.m., which is when our selling hours were. They were established to be 10 p.m. and is not unlocked Monday through Saturday till 8 a.m. and Sunday at 10 a.m. That was a large expense for the company, and it was something that is definitely beneficial. I come in the morning, I average about 65 hours a week there, and it is always locked. It's a blessing to my clerks that they don't miss 10 o'clock, because then it's over and done with for the day. Not that it's a hassle for them, but it's just something, precaution they take, then no one can get into it. And again, it was a large expense for the company, but it was something that part of what we discussed upon approval of the license was that everything was going to be locked and secured, and it has been. I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
So I think the one thing in our notes, and I'm going to look to you, Sherry, so your application is for hours 8 to 10, Monday to Sunday, but what we approved were different, and I vaguely remember, Nancy, last time you were here. Sherry, can you remind me what we approved? I
Yes,
feel like it was
sure.
not so
Yep.
simple.
Yep, so we approved Sundays from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
That's what
That's
Nancy
what she
said.
said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
the
But I think in the
application
application,
doesn't
it's
say
just
that.
8 to 10.
Right.
So the
Okay.
application needs to be updated then if you want to, so you're suggesting to
The
keep the same
application,
hours?
the application that
Yes.
was approved in last year,
No,
or the
The one that
application?
you
The
just
application-
submitted on March
I-
31st.
I understand. It had you certify what was already approved, basically. And we on the online submission of the application, we got the hours wrong.
Correct.
Okay. That's
But I didn't.
That's
Yes,
that's my
you
office's
did
mistake.
it,
No,
but what
that's-
we have in front of us, so if you're okay with the hours that
They're-
Sherry repeated,
They're great.
then that makes it just easier for us and we can update. Sherry, can you work with the attorney to just get that fixed?
yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to go back to it's 2 hours on a Sunday, but it's what we
No,
approved.
it's 10 to 10 on Sunday and 8 to 10 the rest of the week.
Perfect. Great.
It doesn't need to be extended to 11. We're fine with 10.
Counselor Chines?
Just a quick question, Madam Clerk. Have there been any issues or violations that we've been aware of, or anything that we've had to enforce?
No, there has been none.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
And just, I would like to add, it's the same as one of the questions that came up with the tobacco. We've had no infractions with tobacco. And additionally, my staff is trained we scan IDs, and that's all ages. And we just say with age-restricted products, we're required to scan an ID, but they're also looking at pictures.
Okay, anything else?
Public comment.
Yes. Is anyone for public comment online or in the audience?
There's no one online for comment.
Okay, I don't think there's anyone in the audience, so then do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, move to approve the change of ownership interest for Circle K at 448 Salem Street for the following hours, Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Second.
Okay, I had a motion seconded, roll call vote. Counselor Chrisley?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Butler?
Yes.
Counselor Carney?
Yes.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
And myself is yes, 6-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
And a roll call vote, motion to close the
Move
public
to close
hearing.
the public hearing.
Second.
I'm so good at these now. Counselor Chrisley?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Butler?
Yes.
Counselor Carney?
Yes.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our town meeting warrant articles. C1, report of the Permanent Building Committee.
Thank you. Joe Birch, I'm Chairman of the Permanent Building Committee. I'm happy to report that we are on time for substantial completion of December 16th, 2026 for Phase 1, and on time for substantial completion of the demolition of the building we're in right now, and the field for December 17th, 2027. We are also on budget. Presently, 63% of the project has been completed, and payment of funds from the budget is 61% have been paid. I would like now to show you, if we can get the video started. We took some video drone. The drone took some videos of the new school. If you look into the middle there, and hopefully you'll see the entranceway in the middle with the large lights and the brown covering on the top of them. To the right of that is the academic wing. There are two sections to it, buildings A and B. And can we still keep moving toward the back? there they went. All right, thank you. All right, so if you look on the left, those are the academic wings A and B. To the right of that, the block area where you see, that is the auditorium. And above that is the gym area, so that you get an idea of the building itself. To the right of the auditorium are the music area plus the superintendent's office and WCAT. We also have some interior photos I'm going to show you, if those can come up.
The drone footage.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Here we go. This is the auditorium. The next picture is also for the auditorium. The proscenium is being built. The walls are being built. These are all part of the auditorium. Next. This is a mock-up classroom. This is what exactly the classrooms will look like. Bond did a complete mock-up of one classroom completely done before everyone else is complete, and this is what that classroom, this is the normal classroom will look like. Next, this is the common area where the students will have the dining area. Well, that's, yeah, hang in there. And also like a congregation area. This, if you look straight through, we're in the middle of that, that's the main entrance, where there's a person standing right there. That's the main entrance, right there, yeah, thank you. Okay, next. I think that went back to the classroom. This is the gymnasium that is going to fit 1,000. There's going to be bleachers on both sides to fit the entire school will be able to meet in this gymnasium, as well as the athletic events, obviously. This is in the kitchen area. That's a freezer that's a large freezer. This is the learning stairs, which is in the common area. This is also in the common area. The learning stairs, which are a congregation area for teaching, also for showing videos on the opposite side of the wall there, and for an area for the students to congregate, along with the dining area around there. This is the media center, which is above the main entrance. These beautiful windows that are done, really a stunning area that area is going to be, without a doubt. This is a typical science classroom that's being built. It's getting there, all of the areas of the, completely around with all the cabinets for the science labs. And we're back in the common area again. And this is looking at the top of the learning stairs, where you'll see there would be a projector on the opposite wall there, where you would be able to see movies or whatever. All right, thank you. Presently, as I indicated, the permanent power has been brought to the building. The project team continues having move coordinations with the school. We are literally starting to have a process where they're purging unnecessary items. We're even starting to do that now. We have become obviously more involved in the fall to be ready to have a move, because we will be completed on the 16th of December and be ready by January 4th for the students. There's going to be a quick turnaround to bring everything over in there. As far as everything that's involved in it, what's called the FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, those have all been ordered. They've been vetted through the various vendors. The technology that is also has been vetted. It will be ordered in the next month, and there doesn't seem to be a real issue there. We did have possible some delays in the furniture due to some governmental tariffs, but we have gotten through that. We seem to be in pretty good shape there. As far as the other construction on the outside, the masonry will be complete by the end of this month. The classrooms that we showed you, the finishes are all the way down in both wings down to the first floor. The flooring is down, the third and the second floor done, and we'll be starting on the first floor for the flooring next week. And I think that's about it for the progress we have. If you have ever noticed, the committee gets daily reports as to construction work that's being done. And you'll, just for your information, there's usually between 120 and 180 people working over there every single day. Today there were 100, I counted them, and there's 128 today. Just an enormous force that are going in there and doing a tremendous job, and it is all due to the project team, bond builders, SMMA, the architect, and Wakefield, who are the owner's project manager. And I would like to acknowledge our committee, who has done a tremendous amount of work. Chip Tarbell, Phil Renzi, Aaron Demersion, Christine Gabriel, Mark Mokia, Jason Cohen, John McDonald, and Wayne Hardig. So if you have any questions, hopefully I'll be able to answer them.
I think
They're not too
Councilor
technical.
Carney has questions because it just looks like when he graduated the high school. So he wants to know why.
I'm just interested in
You did graduate?
Thank you. Make a point. You made a point of calling it a gymnasium and not a field house.
That is correct.
Is that size or is that?
I made the mistake of calling it a field house, and I was reprimanded.
It's a gymnasium.
Because it's not, no one, it has to do with track, it has to do with some other, I haven't figured that one out myself either.
But the facility is just as big as the other one.
It's it's the same size, but it's not a quote-unquote field house.
And then, the second question is the auditorium.
Yes,
How do you compare that to the Galvin?
slightly smaller, about 640 versus Galvin's up to 660.
Thank you.
Councilor Chines?
Can I just add, though, slightly smaller, but with some different technology and
Sure.
benefits, too. So it has an orchestra pit. It's going to be pretty cool. I just want to say thank you, Joe, for the work that you and the whole committee has done. I mean, it's amazing when you think about what goes into putting up a building this size. I mean, you're 180 potentially workers every single day that have been doing this for months and months and months. The progress is incredible to see, and it really is so gratifying to see this investment in our town. So thank you to you. Thank you to everyone on the committee and the project team for working through it. Just a logistical question. I don't know if this is for you, Dee, or Mr. Mullen. So I know this is we have this report going to town meeting in May. Is this an MSBA requirement, or are we just doing this?
No, the Permanent Building Committee wanted to do it.
Okay.
Steve had
Excellent.
asked us to do it last year, but we said no. Well, there wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah. No, there's a lot more to cover. Well, good. I think people will be excited to see it. So thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Butler?
Sure. I guess one concern you have with projects like these is, I think they talk about it at NASA as like go fever. So we look like we're on time. So what do we have to do to make sure that, come October, November, or October, let's say, that we're not pushing ourselves to get this school open, even though in a way that in which, they want to get it done, we want it done, everybody wants to move in, but then that the experience is atrocious those first few months. Like, I guess, how do you mitigate that?
Well, I mean, we've done it before. We did it with the Galvin. And so I think we can do it again. And this is some of the same team. That the actual superintendent in this job is the same superintendent who did the Galvin. So in the mere fact of that, plus this project team has just been tremendous. It's been indicated by one of the project people from Wakefield who's been in the business for 30 years. She considers this the best team she's ever seen. So the bottom line is we're very confident, without any problems, that we will be able to be open. And we will have substantial completion on the 16th of December, and we will be moving everything in there. And then removing everything from the field house, from the field house, from the school. And we've actually started working with companies for donations to donating all the used furniture and everything else to third world countries, like we did at the Galvin when we donated things to Rwanda. So we are we have asked that same question. What is there that's going to stop? Is there something there that can slow us down, that can cause us problems? And so to date, the team has given us no problems. So we're confident.
Any other questions, comments? Dee, you'll work with Jennifer to have all of this on a town meeting website, or on our website, but a town meeting page. I think those pictures were amazing. And since everyone in this town is contributing to the building of this new high school, even if they don't have twin girls that are going to benefit from it, it would be great to share that video and the pictures. Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah, we can provide more updated ones too.
Yeah, the oldest will get it for a semester.
So my oldest will be there for 1.5 years. My middle one will be there for 3.5 years, and then my twins will be there for all 4 years.
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of educational years out of this school, which is another reason I'm so grateful.
So it'd be great to kind of share all of that, as those pictures were great. Do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve the presentation of the report of the Permanent Building Committee at town meeting on May 4th.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All abstaining, say aye.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. So 5 yeses, 1 abstention, Sherry. Thank you,
Okay.
Joe.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 2, Greenwood School.
Joe, can I ask, just if you wouldn't mind hanging out just for this next one? I have a Permanent Building Committee question for the next article. I promise I'll be quick and painless.
So,
Quick, anyway.
the Greenwood School feasibility study. Doug, I think this is you.
Sure. I know.
Huh?
Thought you were coming to me.
No, there's too many Dougs in the room. Take this down. Tear down.
Good evening. The warrant for the feasibility work or pre-feasibility work for the Greenwood, if I can back up a little bit. So what Joe just shared with you, the Permanent Building Committee has done an amazing job with the high school, and the bond team and the design team have been exceptional. And so, and just for context, it's taken us 10 years to get where we are right now. I know Joe was referring to the time that it took to construct what we have, but to apply to be part of the MSBA grant, to write a statement of interest, to do the pre-feasibility work, that took a few years. And we wrote an SOI that was accepted by MSBA, but we did quite a bit of work on the front side and to get where we were. But for context, what you saw tonight was 10 years in the making, right? And so, which is important because the warrant for the Greenwood School has some significant issues. It has issues with ADA accessibility, it also has some issues with heating and cooling. And so because of that, I had talked with the Permanent Building Committee about, could we do an assessment of the heating and cooling system? And could we do a separate assessment for ADA accessibility? And their good coaching and advice to me was, well, if it's taken a decade to get us where we are at the high school and we're planning ahead, why don't we start the same type of pre-feasibility work that we did with the high school? If, for those of you that weren't here or aware of the work that we did, we had a construction company, Dorn Whittier, come in and assess the physical plant of the high school where we are right now. And that work and that report contributed to the statement of interest that we created to submit to MSBA, which was accepted, and we got into the grant, and we are where we are now at the high school. We're just trying to plan ahead while also knowing that the ADA accessibility issues for Greenwood are a significant issue, right? And so I'm just trying to plan ahead and be mindful of the time it takes. That's why we're seeking support in this warrant, and that's why we are doing what we're doing. Happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Counselor Chimes.
I was going to say, can I ask my question to Mr. Bertrand?
I think so.
So I am very supportive of kind of long-term planning, right? Because we do know these projects take a long time. The question I just wanted to confirm is, from a permanent building committee perspective, is this something that you feel the committee has the bandwidth to oversee as we're also finishing up the high school?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you.
We're even doing the south shed now.
Yep. That's true. That's a little bit smaller, though, from a scope standpoint. So that's the only thing I wanted to confirm. So I appreciate you hanging out for a minute to answer that.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve Article 22 for town meeting related to the Greenwood School feasibility study.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Yes, I was
Yes, that was a yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 5-0, Sherry. Counselor Chrisley has left the room. Reevaluation of personal property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Item number 3, reevaluation of personal property.
Oops. All right, Victor, your assessor. Once every 5 years, we're required to engage in a full revaluation of all real and personal property. This article is for the personal property portion alone. Basically, we will contract with a company that we've been using for most of my 20-plus years here, Real Estate Research Consultants. They are pretty much an expert in the field of business personal property. For those of you who don't know what that is, if you own a business, shop, what have you, every year you would get a note from me saying, hey, please fill out this formal list. Basically, I'm asking you to list everything you think may be taxable in your business. Well, for this reval, and it's been almost a decade since we did this, they're going to go out and canvass all known accounts. We have roughly 660 active business personal property accounts on file that all will be reviewed. For those that have submitted forms of list, those will be reviewed, changes will be made to accounts, verification by actual on-site visits will occur. And we also look at accounts that aren't necessarily taxable, but we still have to manage them. They might come in below the $2,000 threshold that we use to bill personal property taxes. So there's probably about another 150 accounts there that they'll take some temperatures and keep tabs on.
Counselor Carney?
Could you give us an example from one of the larger firms? What, they go over $100,000 worth of personal property. What are the things they're taxing? Just an idea. Okay, if, oh boy, you're a doctor. And in your office, you have file cabinets, desks, computers, maybe some old contraption they make you hop on that we'll find a value for, that invariably the doctor comes in and says, this was handed down by my grandfather in 1940, it has no value. These are the things we're trying to value accordingly. Everything does have some value somewhere, and we're fair with it. And the reason I use the abbreviation is RRC, goodness, I've used them going back to the days when I began in Chelsea in the late 90s. And in Massachusetts and really New England, they're the leader in the field. So.
Councilor Costa?
I have to imagine that you're going to collect more than $36,000 in revenue. You know, I mean, you'll be asking the town for $36,000, but if with that many businesses and that much personal property and delivery vans and I don't know what else you've got out there, is there like a, an estimate here, or does that not make sense?
I'm kind of known where I don't spend a nickel unless I can make a buck, but that's not the point of this.
Okay.
The point of this is every 10 years it needs to be done. Regardless, the State Department of Revenue, you're under a directive to do it, so this is our compliance with it. Would we see perhaps some additional new growth relative to business personal property beyond what we normally book? Yes, that's an expectation. To what extent? I'm sorry, Dan, I cannot put a dollar value on that yet. You'll be the second person to know.
Councilor Butler?
How much do we collect in taxes on business personal property every year? Like, is it?
Off the top of my head, about 1.6 million on the recap sheet, ballpark.
Okay. Where does that show up? Industrial, or it just shows up?
It's taxed as business commercial.
Okay.
But again, not real estate. Don't put it in that box.
Right. And is that public? Like, is it publicly available what each business pays?
Being a commitment book.
Okay.
That commitment books are thousands of pages. We don't keep them on the corner, but if you had an inquiry about a business.
Right, is it all still in paper, or is it all?
No, it's electronic files.
Okay. Yeah.
It's unusual for someone to come in and say, hey, what is this business paying for personal property tax? If need be, we can get a screenshot and say, here's what the tax levy for that business was that year.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we have an idea at the council level of who the top 20 payers of business personal property are.
Well, in 20-something years, no one from the council has asked me that question, so.
There you go, that's my job.
If you want to ask me the question, sure, I can send you down a rabbit hole, but, it is what it is. It contributes roughly 1.6 million to the tax levy on average out of a total tax levy of approximately 100 million. So, there's bigger fish to fry when it comes to stuff, which is why I bring in RRC to stay on top of this stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I think bringing in people is fine. It's more a question of like, are we collecting properly?
Yeah, we are collecting property.
Properly, not property.
No, we're collecting properly. We're assessing and turn it over to collections properly. That's the process.
Okay.
We hope we're not missing anything, ergo the revaluation exercise.
Well, I just think of we've probably had a lot of, if it's been 10 years, we've probably had a lot of industrial closures, or a decent number of industrial closures.
Each and every year, the file's maintained. People call us to say, hey, we're out of business, send us proof. Sometimes the tax collector has to write some of these off. Because they go a couple of years, they fall into collections. After the tax collector has exhausted all collection remedies, they refer them to the Board of Assessors to be written off. Standard operating procedure under Mass General Law.
Okay.
T and Liz, is this something next year as we kind of, look at grants coming in and like where the money revenues are coming in from. Is this something as we do the revenue of just kind of like, these are the 10 biggest of that, that would be just interesting. As Doug said, we've never seen that before. I think like that could be something we put in place for next year.
Yes.
Yeah, working with
We're taking
Victor.
notes,
Thank you. It's just good information, good data to have, as Dee says. Councillor Chines.
I just wanted to sort of pick up on something, Victor, that you were saying. I think it's important that people in the public understand that this, because we do this reevaluation every 10 years doesn't mean that the list is static for the 9 years before then.
Right. Thank
So
you,
it is
Jonathan.
getting updated each and every year. This is really almost like kind of an audit check, basically, to see if where we are kind of matches what's been reported to us. Is that the right way of thinking about it?
No.
Okay.
It's about finding what wasn't properly reported to us, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Each and every year, this company goes out and spot checks a certain number of accounts, whatever I have in the budget, 50, 60, 70 accounts. They look at the forms of list. Some of the things you catch in there, we had a company years ago where their manufacturing status lapsed. Well, a big tax bill came in because now all that machinery that you use in conduct is now taxable. They got a bill for almost $400,000. I met with management a month later. I met with them again, all new management, because they didn't understand Mass General law. And we look for these things. They went out of business, but still, I did my job.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
Yep. Move to approve Article 10, personal property reevaluation for town meeting on May 4th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
6-0, thank you. And you're not going anywhere, Victor. Number 4, reevaluation of real properties.
Same. Once again, every year, non-reval years, they used to be every 3 years, now they're every 5 years a reval. The in-between years, I do all the real estate valuations, residential, commercial, what have you. Every 5th year, I go to a vendor that we use. It was formerly known as Patriot Properties. They're now Catalyst Government Solutions. But I'm working with people I've worked with for over 20 years, and it's a good exercise. The state comes in and basically goes through everything. They look at all our records. They ask me any question they can come up with, either on the spot or an email. I answer the questions. If we find any deficiencies, we work to shore them up. The other reason it's good to have an outside company come in every 5 years, everything we do in your respective professions or what have you, you can develop blind spots. When the assessor develops blind spots, it can be costly. You could be undervaluing a class of properties. You could not be hitting some statistical targets that you didn't realize exist in your underlying data. This helps to clean that up. And I don't turn it over to this company and they run roughshod and go, here you go, Vic, and they're on to the next one. No. Here's the game plan I give them. Any deviation from that game plan is an opportunity to learn. That's where, okay, what was I missing? What did I do really good? What did I do poorly? What have you? And right the ship. And it's to satisfy the requirements of the Commonwealth.
Thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve Article 11, real property revaluation for presentation in town meeting.
Second.
Second, great. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. 6-0, thank you, Victor.
Thanks, folks. Good night.
Thank you.
Item 5, fire pumper.
Liz is getting the chief.
Hi, how are we doing?
Hi, Chief. Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Take your seat. Okay. So we're asking for an additional $50,000 on top of the $1.3 million that was appropriated last year at the town meeting. Essentially, it's a little bit backwards. The $1.3 million was allocated by the town before any of our discussions regarding design took place. The design meetings took place in July, and the contract was executed in November. So it's about a 3.85% increase, which is actually how it's done all the time. I know it's a little bit backwards, but we have a meeting that's upcoming, and we're going to, it's called a pre-construction meeting, which will be scheduled, and we have to go through every line item and all the specs again, and we delineate some items we add, we remove, and the price could go down from here. That's about the long and short of it, though. Any questions?
Okay, that makes sense. Do you have a motion?
Yes, move to approve Article 9, fire pumper supplement for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Great. All in favor say aye. Aye, 6-0, thank you. And then item 6, emergency management and drainage improvements revolving accounts.
Okay, so. Tom Walsh here. I'm going to let Tom speak to this. I can as well if needed.
We're looking to establish a revolving account when we have first responders respond to hazmat incidents, either gas, oil leak, other hazardous materials. The state has, there's a general law, General 21E, Section 5, that you have a cost recovery. So what we're trying to do is establish that. We've been starting to implement that thing in there, but we need the account open so that we can actually spend the money. We're going to try to use that to buy additional equipment for the departments, you know, police and fire and stuff, you know, if they needed radios. So it'd be another funding source. You know, we're looking at maybe some austere financial times coming down the road. So it's just another funding source, and it comes from either the people who have had a leak in their business or building, or have had out on the road, you know, say on 128 or something. So this cost recovery has been in effect for many years. It's just that some cities and towns didn't realize that this opportunity was there. But you have a large incident, you're talking, you might be able to recover $20,000 or $30,000 of it, because it pays for personnel that respond to the scene, equipment, supplies that you use. So all these things are a recovery. They just started, the fire department just started doing it about a month and a half ago, and we've already gotten $10,000 in. So there's a need for it, and it gives us another funding source for them to get additional equipment and stuff, and they won't having to come to the council to ask to seek for more finances when they can generate it themselves. So it's a win-win. It's what I call a no-brainer. It's, you know, do it. A friend of mine was emergency management director of the city of Chelsea for many years, and he did it for about 3 decades there. And he billed out over his 30 years $550,000 and recovered all $550,000 of it. So it's a law. People adhere to it, and they pay the bill, you know.
That's great. We like the thought of bringing in money. Any questions, comments? Councilor Butler.
It sort of sounds like it's a fire department version of a speed trap. I mean, it feels like I granted it's a win-win. It's not a win for like the business owner, or I don't know if there's an accident, if you get in an accident and oil leaks and whatnot. Like fire department, like
a lot of things are insured.
who's paying for it? Like, right.
The insurance company, it depends on what the situation is, but like the Tesla, when we had that Tesla, I went after that money when we had that first Tesla fire up on 28, and I got $5,000 back into the town. We're expending resources out there. We had people out there for a long time. A dangerous environment because these Tesla batteries burn at like 3,500 degrees. So just putting water on it doesn't put it out. We're using fire blankets, all these other equipments that we're using. We are going to put out this resource when we can recover it through either an insurance or through the business. I mean, this is a new age, and this law has been on the books for 40, 50 years. So for us to let that go, it isn't. It's somebody's responsible. Something happened that somebody's responsible for. Most times it is covered in insurance, and you go forward. I mean, years ago, I'll give you this thing. Chelsea had a huge spill, and they billed Gulf Oil for $67,000. The Gulf Oil exec said, "Hey, wait a minute, no." He said, "I don't think we should do that." And he got hold of the city solicitor in Chelsea. He said, "Hey," he said, I want to talk about this." He said, "Okay." He said, "Well, I'll set you up." The emergency management director said, "No problem, just don't give him a discount, and I'll be in to talk about it." When they got there, he knows it's a law, that the recovery is there. So his portion, when he first started to fight it, was to say, "You know what, I think we should have been discounted." He said, "You know, we had a bunch of apparatus at scene. You had a 20-year-old piece, and you had a brand-new piece." He said, "Why are we paying the same amount of money for that 20-year-old piece as the brand-new one?" And he said, "Oh, so that's what that." He goes, "It's funny, in my prior life, this gentleman who was the director there said, I owned a taxi cab company, and I also had a service pump there. And you know what's funny? Whether a 20-year-old truck brought my gas or the brand-new one brought my gas, I still paid the same amount of money for the gas." And the guy said, "Okay." Then he tried to hang his hat on whether he should pay tax. "I'm a taxpayer. We pay taxes." He said, "Okay." He said, "You have a nice house, right?" "Yeah." He said, "You ever done work on it?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You get it renovated?" "Absolutely." "You put out specs, bring them down to the building inspector?" "Yes." "Did you pay the fee to the building inspector?" "Yes." "Okay." 4 days later, $67,000 went to the city of Chelsea.
Yeah, but the building inspector doesn't get that money to, like, pay for whatever the building inspector wants.
But paid the fee. The man was trying to say.
But I guess what I'm saying to you is that I'm not so sure how keen we are on having, maybe it is a billing out, but I'm not sure why it would be going into a special fund for y'all versus just being part of our general collection of fees. Like, why, you know, I'm not sure why it should go into, like, we've been starting to limit on the schools in terms of reserve, what are they called, funds? Revolving funds. Yeah. I don't know, and I also don't want to have, you know, you put incentives in place, all of a sudden, like, if it's like, oh, we collect on this, are we going to start finding a bunch of more instances of these things happening?
Well, it's stated in the law. It's either oil, gas, or hazmat material. That's what you have.
According to MGL's Chapter 21E, Section 4, any person or agency, including a municipality, that undertakes a necessary and appropriate response or action regarding a release or threat of release of oil or hazardous material is entitled to reimbursement of reasonable costs from any reasonable party. Cities and towns can seek recovery for labor, supplies, equipment, recovery methods. Quite a few municipalities do that, and there can be some sizable accidents on the highway. We've had multiple ones over the last 5 years and beyond. The Tesla fire, we used about 30,000 gallons of water. We had 8 communities there, all kinds of overtime, all kinds of supplies, thousands of dollars.
But in that instance, like, why is the money that, let's say we bill them. I don't understand why it goes into a revolving fund versus going back to the town.
So that they can then spend the money on equipment that they need. They're getting it, they're taking the effort to build these things, to get all the documentation in. We put it back in. If they need a radio, if they need other equipment, and plus they want to replenish what they have. If they go out to a call and they use 20 bags of Speedy Dry at the scene, they want to be able to recover that, right? Or do you want to pay for it? Well, no, I would rather recover the money than have the town just pay 20 bags of Speedy
Let's say
Dry.
I'm agreeing that we should recover the money. I don't still know why it has to go into a revolving fund. You guys,
Because that way their spending keeps going.
Counselor Shines.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the revolving fund. I don't think the right analog is the speeding ticket incident, because that's, there's no cost really incurred by, the police when you're, citing someone for speeding. Here we're talking about situations where, and I think, Chief, you mentioned, we go through a ton of supplies for some of these events, a ton of materials. There may be overtime because we're pulling in extra staff to respond. Given that we are effectively billing out our actual costs for responding to these incidents where, based on the general law, there's someone who has been identified as liable, it feels to me that actually the revolving fund is the right way to account for that, because you can ensure that there's a match between the spend and what we're actually charging out and collecting back from the individual liable. I'd actually be a little more concerned from just a budget transparency perspective if it wasn't going into a revolving fund where the purpose was clear.
And under the warrant,
creates a perverse incentive, is what I'm saying.
Well, but what are they going to do? Like create an oil spill?
No, but they're going to find every time a drop of oil spills.
But that is something that someone is liable for.
Well, there's a procedure, a strict procedure and paperwork to go through, and we're certainly not going to manufacture, as a municipality, insurance loss or insurance fraud or borderline or anything of such. Again, the labor, it goes to reimburse personnel costs, unbudgeted wages or overtime, disposable materials used during mitigation, equipment costs. Decon is a big thing now. We have to the decon process in an event like this is ridiculous. Replacement and damaged equipment. And I'm not so sure on revolving versus whatever account. I'll let Liz handle that, whatever works best for the town. I just think it's a missed opportunity if we do that. What we have done through emergency management right now has helped out on the small level that we have done it, so.
Plus, we have in effect that the town administrator would get a report every quarter, and then every year we would then send a report into the town council. So there'll be an accountability process. But if you're thinking about, if we go out, we send out our people to a 6-minute call, that we're gonna, no, but these are extended circumstances where, you're at a call and you've held up an engine and a ladder company there for 2 hours, right? And when somebody else may have needed them in the town, or we have to then pull mutual aid in to go to that. But that's why you charge out that thing. Somebody should be compensated for it, and we have the ability under Mass General Law to do it.
John's got a question.
Counselor Carney.
Yeah, and I think, Chief, you mentioned the fact that Liz is going to roll on us. We have to have some accountability here. You can't be buying anything and using it as a reward to say, well, I've always wanted to do this. It's got to be related. So we can use these to defray related costs, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we lay out an incident report. We lay out an incident report with all our materials, our labor, everything's filled out and documented, so each incident is recorded, and Tom has already done several of these, so it's all line itemized. It's not just made up as you go, and we have stock in place already, which we categorize, and we know how much is there. If we use 30, 40 bags of Speedy Dry, we know how much they cost per bag, per pallet. This is what we use. This is what we seek for reimbursement. And when you do a detailed line item insurance loss, if you've ever done one of those before, they look at those with a magnifying glass. They don't just hand money out.
Plus, it goes on our reports. When they're calling it the dispatch, all those times they recorded, who came out, the chief came out, the chief came out. All those things are recorded there isn't, we're not making up stories. This is what it is. Here's what we had. Here's how we responded to each call. Here's what we used. And that's how it works.
So then
Go ahead.
So then should we see a corresponding decrease in sort of the supplies spend from the fire department next year? Because presumably that some of you've been buying that speed dry all along and we've been footing the bill. Now if the insurance company is footing the bill, then you can't ask us for as much for speed dry or whatever it is.
Well, that may be possible, but don't forget, you were just talking about, are we gonna bill everybody? No, there'll be the people that you're talking about. We get out there and maybe we use a bag, so maybe we don't charge those people. It might not be every person.
No.
All
But
right,
I'm saying if you collect $500,000 or if you collect $100,000 and stuff, we should see a decrease, not of 100,000, but we should see a decrease in some of the request.
You may,
from
but we
fire
won't
for
know
next
until we
year.
get some time in to document how, we need a year or two to say, okay, here's what we figure what our average would be. I mean, we might have one big thing and then we have nothing. It depends.
Okay.
We don't know. We're just starting it up.
Usually we're seeking reimbursement. I'm not going to say it's a wash, but if we go out to they're larger incidents, usually commercial incidents on the interstate, and if we spend $25,000 in labor and materials, we're getting it back. That's it. We're not making, it's like an insurance claim. We're not making money on it. They don't allow that.
No, but
I know what he's saying.
Money on it.
You could see it. If I put out 50 bags of Speedy Dry, and they give me the Speedy Dry back, the money for it, I'm not going to have to pull it out of my budget for the town, right? They're going to bring that back to me. They're going to give it back to me at some point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
You might see a savings, you might not.
I mean, just the other thing I'd note is, most of the incidents you respond to are not falling under the rubric of Chapter 21E. So we're talking about a pretty small number of very, very large incidents rather than,
Correct.
kind of the day-to-day work that you guys are doing.
We had a large tanker diesel spill. 4th of July, was it? Several years ago. It was large.
Yeah.
Shut down 128. We didn't utilize this. Could have.
Right, that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But it was substantial.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve Article 22, Emergency Management Revolving Account and Drainage Improvements for town meeting on May 4th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Sorry, I just had one question.
I thought I could
Drainage
skip it.
improvements.
So there's a schedule in the bylaws that have existing revolving accounts. So this is adding the emergency management to that existing schedule, which has the drainage improvements.
okay,
Is
that's
my understanding. Is that
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Okay, do over. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay. Sherry, did you get that? 5
Yeah,
to 1.
I did.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
And just a reminder for people out there, we are approving to put these on the warrant. And then you will see a lot of these same presentations at our town meeting. That starts on Monday, May 4th, and we'll talk more about that later. But
You'll see all these same presentations.
You'll see all these same,
assuming
maybe
we
even
approve them
better, all these presentations starting on May 4th, and everyone gets to vote on them. These are just not town council votes. These are all voters in town get to vote on all of these. So we are just voting to put them on the warrant, and then we're not approving anything. That'll happen at town meeting. Moving on to more warrant articles. Number 7, revolving amounts, road repair, surplus equipment, emergency management, and drainage improvements.
Do you want me to present on the drainage?
We have Joe Conway listed. Okay.
So, hey folks, Bill Renaud, Town Engineer. Joe Conway, Public Works Director. So the Drainage Revolving Fund is a request based on the stormwater bylaw proposal that'll be before town meeting.
The drainage revolving fund would be set up for instances where a site has technical and feasibility to meet the bylaws requirements. So an example would be a lot that's full of ledge where they can't infiltrate something on their site. Or say an existing building that's taking up the full footprint of a lot, and that's being knocked down for whatever reason, or combined with another lot next to it. Those are kind of the two scenarios that I would envision. So this essentially is a belt and suspenders to make sure that the treatment requirement from the EPA is going to still be met in redevelopments and in new developments. This isn't a way that someone would be able to circumvent the bylaw. That's not the intent. And an approval for a mitigation payment would come before for the council as the adjudicatory board for the stormwater bylaw. So you folks would be deciding if it's acceptable or not. We do have a calculation on how it would be created. That's in the bylaw as well. Ranges of costs, probably about $10,000 on the high side for the smallest project that would hit the threshold for the bylaw. That can go down to as little as $3,000 depending on the soil where we would be looking to install it. So if the soil's good, it's going to be cheaper. Soil's worse, it would be more expensive.
Councillor Chines.
A technical question.
Sure.
Probably not for you, but for the warrant as a whole. So Article 22 that we just approved is specifically to add the emergency management revolving account. Article 23, which we're talking about now, is to set the limits for the revolving funds, but the drainage fund doesn't exist in the revolving accounts under the bylaws today.
I think it was added into the revised agenda, into the last item.
Okay.
Yep. So it should be, we're on item 6.
Got it. So what we have then in our packet isn't correct, just because it just refers Article 22 as the emergency management, but the intent is that Article 22 is both emergency management and drainage?
Yeah, we'll check. Sherry, that's correct, right? We need to add it.
Wait, where isn't it showing, Jonathan?
Sorry, in the material attached to item 6, Article 22 says to see if the town will vote to amend the table of revolving funds set forth in Chapter 5, Section 5 of the general bylaws by adding a line item for an emergency management revolving account revolving fund as follows.
Drainage is already on that list, though.
But it's not in the existing bylaw. So the existing bylaw just has road repair and surplus. So I guess my question is,
I see what you're saying.
should that article have said emergency management revolving fund and drainage improvement?
Yeah, so mine does say that. Does yours not say that?
No.
Okay, yep, I will load that in there for you, but yes, it does state that.
Got it. Okay. So then should we take a revote for that, the prior article, just to make sure that we've got the paper trail on what we approved?
So you're saying number 6 shouldn't have had this, or
it should say, so in the, sorry, I'm skipping around on my screens. I apologize. In the text before the table, it just says in what we have in our packet, by adding a line item for an emergency management revolving account, revolving fund. I think that should say by adding a line for an emergency management revolving account, revolving fund, and a drainage improvements revolving account, revolving fund as follows.
So we have to add the funds and then we have to set the limits?
I think so.
Correct. Okay.
okay. So can you make a you're right,
Yes.
yeah, because there's just it's missing a little word there.
So I will make a motion to rescind the prior motion regarding Article 22 and to approve a revised Article 22, including the emergency management revolving account and drainage improvements revolving account.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Well, you added in the drainage improvement, so you can't have, I'm not going to take them in individually. That's all it took.
That was kind of easy.
I'm not necessarily voting for it on
We're going.
I know what you gotta do in the future.
You're in favor of
Thank you. I'm
drainage?
sorry if I confused this. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I was clear on
Okay.
what we had and what we
Jonathan
had.
got unanimity.
I'll put something on the warrant so other people can vote for it.
Oh, sorry, he's got a question.
Councillor Carney.
out of curiosity, each one of these is $100,000. Is that a number that just came out of the?
It didn't come out of the ether, no. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the drainage account's going to take some time to get up to that number. So, you know, I would anticipate that we'd be spending much less each year. So for the drainage piece, road revolving, typically we sit around 55 to 75,000 per year is what we get in spend. But our initial expenditure that we did when we created it was 150,000. We've never come close to that, so I think the 100's fine. Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Chines?
And presumably, just following up on that question, if we did find that we had a potential project that was going to cost more, we could always approve a higher amount at November's town meeting?
That's correct.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, did the law, when they changed with the modernization, I think that you folks can even vote it, right? Is that, did I read it that way? Or am I incorrect on that? I thought that the council or actually can vote a higher number during the year. Am I wrong on that?
It's the governing body.
It's going to be the governing body? Okay. So scratch that.
So, going back on that, so if emergency management collects $500,000 next year, let's just say, and then, but their maximum expenditure is $100,000, where does the other $400,000 go? Or does it just stay there?
It's based on revenue and expenses, so it would become part of the general fund.
Okay.
I found the backdoor way to get you comfortable with the revolving fund.
Set a cap.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion on this?
Yes, move to approve Article 23 to set revolving fund limits for presentation at town meeting on May 4th.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. 6-0, thank you. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, which is the stormwater bylaws.
Yeah, so I presented this back to you folks on the 23rd of February. We also discussed it on the 9th of March. We asked for some quick modifications, which we've made. So I think we're good to go, but happy to answer questions or go back to my
You may win a
old.
gold star today. That was lovely.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? The presentation is in the packet, but as Bill said, we have talked about this a lot before.
Yes, we have.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve Article.
This says 23.
This says 23, but that's not right.
Which is also the same as we just did.
24.
Thank you. Move to approve Article 24, the stormwater bylaw for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Thank you. Thank you. And it is a great presentation, Dee. So again, we'll go on the website having to do with everything, and we'll see the presentation at town meeting.
Sure.
Item 9, zoning bylaw modifications.
So as part of the proposal for the zoning bylaw, we included certain sections that reference stormwater in our zoning bylaw. Those are going to be revised just to point to our new requirements within the stormwater bylaw. And that's what that will do. And we talked about that on the 9th of March.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve Article 25, zoning bylaw modifications for stormwater for bylaw coordination for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. 6-0. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 10, debt service. Liz, this may be you. Sorry. We have come to the Liz and D part of the warrants.
Sorry, I was asking a question.
That's okay. No.
Yep, that's us.
One moment, sorry.
My computer's slow.
I know.
Well, and this is just our standard debt service article every year, right?
Yes, that's correct. There's nothing new about it, but I can tell you in I can tell you in a moment once my computer unfreezes.
So maybe just to get to one step out of the way, we can add commentary during the discussion. Move to approve Article 3, debt service for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Great. Motion made, seconded.
I can't do anything, but it's $1 million.
$1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Our computers don't seem to be working, but it is $1 million.
Even?
That's correct.
Yeah.
How does that compare to last year?
Yeah.
Let me get my spreadsheets up.
Do you want us to move on to something else and we'll
If
come
we could
back to
circle
all
back,
of
that
this?
would be great. Yeah.
What, like to all of them? Are your laptops both not working?
I have to restart mine.
You know what? Then we're gonna move on. And Doug,
get it.
sorry, I'm a little late, but why don't we have the school come up? I don't know if your laptops are working, but why don't we have the school come up and we'll just go into budgets? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Dee and Liz? Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on to item D. 2, budget 33, Wakefield Public Schools.
I just got kicked off the network.
Thank you for sticking with us. It's a
No worries.
half time of year, as you all know.
We do. We are keenly aware. Thank you for having us. I'm Doug Lyons. I'm the superintendent of schools. I'm joined this evening by, on my left, your right, Kara Morrow, our assistant superintendent. And on my right, your left, Christine Bufagna, our school business administrator. Where's our clicker? So one of the things that we wanted to do straight off is just to provide information and create a context for the budget that was moved forward and accepted by school committee a little over a week ago. We're paying very, very close attention to the cost drivers for FY27. They are salaries. There's a slight increase in technology. The next two, transportation and out-of-district tuitions, have gone up. They're just, I read today that special education tuitions have gone up 30% in the last 3 years. And so that's a state number that I've gotten. And so transportation has also gone up. And so we're getting kind of pass-through costs at really an alarming rate. And so our contracted services, which we use to also offset and provide additional services for students, are also kind of cost drivers for us in the FY27 budget. The good news, positive news, is that we know what the increases are for our 7 collective bargaining agreements, and all of them are settled for FY27. Next year, we will negotiate with teachers, and then in the following year, we will negotiate with the other 6 collective bargaining units. Excuse me. It's a little, sure, you got it.
A little jumbled. Yep, so I'll jump in here. We just wanted to talk a little bit more in detail around special education budget drivers. When we talk about out-of-district costs, there are different types of out-of-district placements that we're referring to. This page is definitely a commitment to our goal to educate all of our students. We try to do so first within the district. We've done a substantial amount of program development in the district, trying to meet the needs of all learners. However, there are times where whether an environment change is needed or services beyond our capability within the district are needed, and students are educated outside of Wakefield. There are different types of out-of-district placements. Our public separate day schools, which we belong to SEAM Collaborative. They're an excellent resource for our district and offer several different program options. But then we also have private special education approved schools, and residential programs would be our most expensive out-of-district placement. In addition to the school placements, we also have an obligation to provide transportation to our students who are unable to go to school in Wakefield, and the cost of those have been on the rise as well as any contracted teaching services that we might need in the district. If we don't have a certain therapist, related service provider, like a teacher of the visually impaired on staff, we contract in to support students as needed based on their IEPs. And we just wanted to show the increases over the years. You can see Wakefield's percentage of students with disabilities is growing pretty in line with the state. You can see that each year. And we did want to highlight that you'll see on the next page more details around our out-of-district population, which right now is around 45 students. About 18% of those students have moved into Wakefield this year. So that has increases our budget in terms of what type of placement they might be at if they have a one-to-one. There are some laws that will protect us from having to pick up immediate costs for private and residential, but students who move in with a public separate day to placement, we're obligated to pick up that cost right away. So those unexpected costs can be challenging for sure.
These are non-discretionary costs, right? These are guided by statute.
And then the next slide, we just wanted to just show you year over year our out-of-district numbers as well, and just for you to see how the numbers might change or grow. We'll have students that either a decision has been made for the student to go out of district. Those numbers can also fluctuate if students graduate with a diploma or age out at age 22. Then the school district's obligations are concluded. We also wanted to break out the average cost on tuition. You'll see it's pretty dramatic just because the differences in placement. So we have seen an uptick in the number of students requiring residential programming or students with severe medical needs that require more costly placements. So that's why you'll see that average cost per student has increased in the range as well. And then Doug referenced the OSD rate of inflation. There was a huge increase, we think a huge increase in FY24, but it steadied out a little bit more. So we're anticipating that the tuition rates will stay at a steadier increase.
So just before we move on from that slide, we like to always stress in our budget presentations about the need for special education because it is such a large cost driver. And as Kara just spoke, it could change day to day. If someone is just newly arrived to Wakefield and has significant needs, that is something that we look really hard to fund. We're fortunate that other than the local budget, we get a circuit breaker account. It's not a revolving account. It is a reimbursement, special education reimbursement account. Now, we have to file that every year at the end of June to reimburse for the following year. So you have to incur the cost that year and then wait for reimbursement in the next year. So I just like to stress that because it is one of our largest cost drivers in the district. Now this,
Can I also share that? They do not reimburse at 100%.
No.
They reimburse at 75%, and that's only for certain costs.
Right.
Okay? So not only is it a percent less of certain costs, but it's also you get it a year late, right? So that's kind
and
of
we're hoping that it continues to be funded in the governor's budget, as it seems to be, but there is some push at the state level to increase that reimbursement rate, but more to come on that. This is what's the overall increase for Wakefield Public Schools for the local budget. Really, the school department has been growing at a 6% increase for the past 3 years. And what we've been able to do is really do a deep dive for the past 3 years. We worked with the consultant about how is the money that our revolving accounts are accumulating, how can we use that to lessen the tax burden to the people of Wakefield. So what we've done for the past 2 years is looked at what costs that those programs, Wakefield Academy, Doyle Preschool, facility rental accounts, what can those programs, what can that offset? So we've looked at custodial reimbursement for overtime, utility costs. So we come up with that number by looking in depth over a year about what those programs incur that can reimburse the local account. This year that we're in 26, that'll be about $300,000. In 27, it's going to be a little bit less, about 282. But really, those three big accounts are the only ones that have any balances that can really afford to reimburse with a slight balance for the next year to the local budget. So because of those offsets, it reduces a 6.24% increase to 27 down to a 5.73. That's the budget that was presented to school committee and ultimately approved unanimously by school committee to bring forth to town meeting. Now we look at all revenue streams. I like to call this an all funds budget. All grants, all revolving accounts, all user fees, which is the next slide. We've talked about, this is the first time in 10 years that user fees have been increased. We understand it's a cost for families, but the programs that those user fees support have dramatically increased. So we're talking about transportation costs. For the athletic department, because they don't have a track and field here anymore, all of their matches had to have a transportation cost because we have no home matches. So things like that, hopefully once we have our new beautiful site, we won't have so much transportation costs. But for right now, we have an increase in fees for the MIAA, just in terms of equipment, uniforms for performing arts and athletics. So we presented to school committee a look. We looked at all of our surrounding communities and what user fees were looking like in the Middlesex League and our dark districts. And on average, most communities have a $350 user fee. For Wakefield, we were at $175. So the school committee voted unanimously to increase by $50 next year all user fees to $225. So that will bridge the gap to afford the increase in those programs and not have to have it increase the local budget.
Did you increase the family cap as
Yes,
well?
everything increased.
Okay.
So the budget increase from 26 to 27 is the budget that was approved by school committee, again, just over a week ago, is $58,601,611. The increase is $3 million, just a little bit over $3 million. We're keenly aware of the increase and how much it is and how much it represents ratio and proportion of our budget, of the town budget, right? Of the overall revenue that comes into the town. And so I have been working not only with our district administrative team, but with superintendents here on the North Shore. We've been working with legislators. We're kind of petitioning our legislators at the State House to increase Chapter 70. When the initial governor's budget came out, they had $75 reimbursement per student. Last year was $150. That cut represents about $275,000, almost $300,000 to us. So we're working with our legislators to try to get those monies put back in. I've also worked closely with Dee to get a little bit of money to help set up an additional Doyle classroom, because we're turning away 40 to 60 students and families a year at the pre-K level. And so we're kind of going to outfit a new classroom at the Greenwood School this year, but we got additional monies through additional grant through the supplemental budget, which will help us do that. And so when Christine says all resources, we are working to get grants we apply for grants wherever we can. What's also not noted here is the additional costs that revolving funds are picking up for our acceleration academies and for intervention support for students. And so we're working quite hard, and we've taken feedback, I think some of which that you've given us a year ago in regard to our fee structures. And I think that we've kind of taken that to heart, and we think we're working pretty much across the board to try to represent different ways to kind of bring this number down as best we can. This is a level service budget. This is a level service budget. So we feel like this is a really important budget for us. And I think we're going to be, based on the forecast and based on kind of the work that we're doing, I think that we're going to be okay for 27. I think the really hard work is going to hit in FY 28 and 29. But that's where we're at. That's the budget that we are proposing for this year. Happy to take any questions that anyone might have.
Do we have the FinCom liaison?
I'm not. Jim, you're.
Good evening. I was going to say, do you want to get to the microphone so they can hear you in TV land?
Sure. How you doing? I'm Jim Sullivan. I am a member of the Finance Committee's Subcommittee for Schools. We've met a number of times. We had a working session on a Saturday with the group, with Dee and Liz and the school department. We continue to work towards this budget against the entire budgets on the expenses versus the revenue. And currently we're still struggling, not just because of the school budget, but the revenues are not keeping up with expenses. We've worked with the schools. We agree, I think, in principle, we would have looked to have a lower school budget if possible, but we understand the level of service was how it's worked out, and they've used some revolving accounts in those programs that make money. The school does a very great job of bringing in money and using that money appropriately to help fund those programs. Again, in the end, I think we'll have a broader discussion on expenses and revenues, but not just directly about the schools.
Okay, and we went a little out of order because of technical difficulties. But Dee, are things working now?
Well, I can get on to GoVenda, so that's good.
Awesome. That's
And it looks like Liz is up, so.
step. Do you just want to talk, as we're all here, we were going to start the budget discussion just talking about the tri-board meeting that we have Wednesday. If you could just do that now, and then we'll just explain to people.
Yep, so we will be having a tri-board meeting on Wednesday with the council, school committee, as well as the finance committee. I know the date is not ideal, there's a lot happening, but we felt like we really needed to get back together. We've changed some of the budgets. We've had additional discussions with finance committee about ideas that they have or suggestions that they have to Liz and I to help, get closer to a balanced budget for fiscal 27 so that we aren't depleting our free cash as quickly as it's currently on schedule if we continue to spend at the rate that we're spending. Does anyone want to add anything?
No, I described it earlier that we continue to balance the budget with free cash, and we have the free cash replenished typically. We've been fortunate with that regard on a year-over-year basis. We earmarked $4 million, I think it was, or so last year to balance the budget, and we believe that from our forecasts and our schedules that money comes back, and it typically has come back. Our concern this year and in future years is using a sizable amount of free cash and not having that be returned to keep us at the 10% of the financial goal. Keeping in mind that the budget increases, the expenses go up quite a bit every year, so the 10% is a moving bar, right? And so the challenge is, I believe, on the spending and the revenue side, and we'll have to all work together on that.
So from a town council point of view, today's the last bunch of budgets that we will be approving, and then we have one more meeting before a town meeting. And so I do think we are going to relook at some of the budgets that we previously approved, have some updated numbers from Liz, and just wanted to make that clear. I know that there is a WEF event, a WEF event, and so I know a lot of school committee members. And Doug, you won't be able to go on Wednesday. It will be recorded, and I think it is the start of discussions that we will have before our next town council meeting, before FinCom's final meeting, and also before the town meeting where we vote on all of these. So just wanted to explain that. Okay, with that, with the school presentation, thank you for doing that presentation. Do we have questions specifically for the school budget? Counselor Chimes.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you for the presentation and the work that's gone into this. I, had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Lyons kind of early in the process. Have watched all the school committee and finance committee meetings, and I think that we all recognize that we're in a place where the challenges that we're facing this fiscal year are far more acute, certainly, than they've been in the 7 years that I've been on the town council, and probably the few years on FinCom before then. I think it's also worth noting and reinforcing, Dr. Lyons, what you were saying, which is that a lot of the increases that we're seeing here are really out of our control because of the cost of special ed and transportation and so forth. With that being said, and I think this will be kind of the context behind a lot of the questions that I have, we still have the mathematical problem that Mr. Sullivan and others have talked about that, we'll be talking about on Wednesday. And so the questions that I have are really predicated on trying to figure out, sort of where there might be some more room within the school department budget. And so I want to start by asking just a few questions on everyone's favorite topic, the revolving funds. One of the things that I noticed in the budget book was, for example, with Wakefield Academy, there is an $82,000 budget offset. And it references that it partially covers the overhead for Wakefield Academy. And I guess the first question is, looking specifically at that revolving fund, what's the amount that we're not covering, and are we or should we consider whether we're charging the right level of fees to make sure that we can cover the full amount of overhead for Wakefield Academy?
Well, as you know, Wakefield Academy is before or after school.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful about not overcharging for the utilities and the overhead costs. So it's the custodians that are in that building anyways. It's to charge the overtime to be part of that. Mm-hmm. But we look very carefully about what we're charging the families of Wakefield to participate in those programs, and then to make sure that it's still affordable to attend those programs, because we don't want to have it so priced so that families can't afford to maintain the participation in this program. So it's a delicate process. But costs are rising every year. We have to pay the staff to run that program. And we do a deep dive into utility costs, how much copy paper that program is using, that the school has used, school supplies, things of that nature. But it's in terms of custodial, it's really the overtime, which they just have a new contract. So their overtime amounts have increased. So we have to make sure we can absorb that. But we're also doing it so we're not wiping out what's available in that balance, so we can have a balance moving forward to next year. We're noticing year over year, we present every month the financial reports to school committee. These balances and these revolving accounts have dramatically come down in the past 3 years. So we're trying to maintain that delicate balance of continuing to have an offset, but making sure that we're not jeopardizing the program.
So maybe just to be kind of clear on my question. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I also add? We're also using revolving funds to do intervention work with students, okay, as well as acceleration work, which was previously funded by a grant. Mm-hmm. So when you see the 282, that's to bring the number down, but that doesn't represent all the money that's being taken out of our revolving accounts, right? Revolving accounts can be looked at a little bit like free cash, except it's a little tighter, more tightly guided by statute.
It's very different from free cash.
Right, well, but it's more tightly guided by statute, right, in terms of what we can use it for. The amounts of money that we have is 282, right? Would we like to give more? I think we would. We've worked with a consultant on this. We feel like these amounts of money we're kind of at our line. And so we're looking very closely at this, like Christine said. Again, and we're also looking at, I just want to be clear, that is not all of the kind of monies that are being represented in the budget, right? If we were to provide intervention services, and if we were to provide kind of our Acceleration Academy and pass those through costs to the budget, then what would happen is we wouldn't be at 5.73, we'd be at much higher than that. We'd be probably 1% higher or more, Jonathan.
Or we wouldn't be able to have those programs.
Or we wouldn't be able to have those programs.
So because our entitlement grants are being cut, so we would just notify that our Title I grant, which is an entitlement grant for Wakefield, that was something you could always count on. Title I, Title II, Title III, they're being cut next year.
Yep.
And for this year too, it was over $63,000. Local budget had to absorb that. We couldn't fund all the programs or expand to the way that we would have liked to. As you can see from the school department budget, it's all salaries.
Yeah, so
It is
I totally...
82% salaries. So just to be clear, in order to have these programs be successful, make sure we can pay staff to work these programs, we want to be thoughtful about not just wiping out a balance and having it be a one-time offset, but making sure those programs can continue for the next at least 2 to 3 years.
So let me clarify my question, and believe me, I understand the impact of the loss of Title I funds. I think I've been kind of beating the drum for a while that people don't understand that when the federal government makes cuts, it all flows downstream.
Definitely.
And it goes to the state has to make cuts, and we ultimately are the ones that are left holding the bag. I'm also not suggesting that we spend down a balance, but my question is, the 82,000, using the example of Wakefield Academy, where that's referred to partially covering the cost of running that program, what I'd like to understand is how much is it not covering? And then the question is not, to me, do we run down the balance, but do we need to adjust upwards what we are charging for Wakefield Academy? And I recognize that that is not a painless proposition as someone who's paid for Wakefield Academy, but I'm also mindful of the fact, again, we've got this mathematical problem, and at some point, we will get to the point where if we want to continue paying for these things, we'll either be looking for, very draconian cuts to other places, or going to the town for an override, which will hit the same people in their pocketbooks already. And so what I want to try to suss out is, where is the opportunity, based on that sort of partial description in the budget book, and whether we need to think similarly to how you guys have thought around the user fees, around whether there's a fee increase that we need to consider to make sure that we are actually covering the full cost of Wakefield Academy.
Well, we're increasing all of our fees. It's not just the athletic department or performing arts.
But again, what is the delta of what we're not covering for the overhead costs for Wakefield Academy?
It's minimal. It's minimal. I mean, they're using our buildings. It's really the staffing. It's the staffing to open the buildings before school, close the buildings at night, making sure it has the supplies. Are you looking for a specific number?
I guess, is the partially the right word, or are we fully funding the overhead at the 82,000?
We are not. So if you're talking about fully funding the cost of the program?
Fully costing the cost of the overhead. So again, sorry, let me find the wording in the board book of the book. Yeah, never mind. I won't be able to find it on the fly. But it does. Oh, here we go. It references that the budget oversight partially covers heating and utility expenses associated with the operating the facilities beyond the regular school day.
So what that means is it doesn't fund the heating and utilities for the whole building. We did an analysis of those 2 hours before and after school. So
Okay.
does it fund that? Yes.
Got it. So from that standpoint, I think that it's fair to say that it is covering the costs.
So what
It's
you're
not
trying to say
partially
is
covering the
it a
costs.
fully self-funded program?
No, and I get that it isn't, but it's that partially that I wanted to understand.
Right.
So
It wouldn't be fair to charge the program for the heating cost for the whole day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. It's a prorated for how many hours that program is running. Now, take into consideration, they're running all day during April school vacation, all day through February school vacation, and then they run a summer program.
Yep.
So
and
those
we're
are
allocating
costs.
those costs.
Yes.
Okay.
So those are costs that otherwise the school really wouldn't be running so much during the summer. But, you know, again, it's a balancing act of making sure the program is still successful, that we can, families can afford the fees that we're charging.
Okay. So let me move on to another account, the preschool tuition. Can we talk a little bit about, so the offset does seem to be decreasing when it seems like we're talking about, you know, kind of increases in enrollment. Can you talk a little bit about why that offset is decreasing? And again, similar question to Wakefield Academy. Do we need to be looking at further tuition increases to kind of keep up with?
But we're talking about two things. So the offset is decreasing, but we're also charging more salaries there. We're going to be having a new program there. We're going to have another teacher, another para there. So we're trying to balance how many teachers get charged to the offset, because every year those unit A salaries go up. So again, we look at the number of students that are actually paying tuition,
So
because not every...
we're opening a new classroom at no additional cost to this budget,
Right.
right? And so
But again, then help me understand how that ties back to the fact that the offset cost is decreasing if we're increasing the footprint of the facility.
Yeah. So the offset is only for time outside of the school day, right? So that's the offset is our chargeback times, right? That's that small amount of money.
So what we're listing there for the Doyle offsets are things like capital improvements. That's not a standard amount. So again, looking at heating or utilities, that's one thing, but we're looking at if there's an improvement to the Doyle, if we have to put new flooring down, if we have to do new carpets or new cubby holes or something like that. It's not the same amount every year, but we work with the facilities director about what capital improvements can we offset for the local budget. Tim O'Brien in his facilities budget only has about $153,000 to do maintenance. So if we're going to do something to the Doyle, we can have that be an offset from the revolving account. But it's not a straight amount of money every year. We're not doing the same capital improvements to that program every year.
So are we charging back? So it sounds like we're using kind of offset differently for that revolving fund than Wakefield Academy.
Yep.
So the question is,
It's
are
a
we?
building.
Yeah. So are we charging back again the cost of, you know, salaries, utilities? You know, is Doyle sort of self-sustaining for the tuition-paying students that are coming in?
No. Doyle is not a self-sustaining revolving account. The local budget also helps fund the Doyle preschool program.
But I guess the question that I have, so I get that, you know, there are students that we are obligated to pay for, and that is what it is.
Yep.
The question is for the non sort of obligated population, is the tuition covering the cost of the program for those individuals?
So
The
this
same
would-
way it would be if, you know, I send my child to, you know, Canterbury or Tallspire when it was open.
So is it appropriate? Is that your question? Is the chargeback appropriate? Is the tuition goes up every year by the amount of the unit A of the teacher contract increase. So if the teachers at Doyle, if the COLA is 3.5% or 4%, we look at what that cost is, so that the tuition goes up by that same amount of the COLA offset.
So from that standpoint, if I'm understanding that correctly, so the answer would be yes, we are, effectively it is a self-funding program for the tuition-paying preschool students that we aren't obligated to provide the service for. Is that correct?
I wouldn't, it's not self-funding, because local still has to support a multitude of other services. We're just trying to make sure we can afford the 10 classroom teachers.
So I think if we were to increase so that it was self-sustaining like you described, I don't know that any of our parents could afford to send their children there.
It would be a dramatic increase.
Our teachers are dual certified.
Yep.
Which are different than some of our other schools in our town, right? They're certified in early childhood and special education, right? The function of the school is early intervention, right, for students that need special education services. And part of that build is to provide peer models for students with needs to be educated with peer models, with students of the same age that are developing, and to have classmates in that space. That's the model. So for it to be budget neutral, which I think is your question, right?
Or closer to budget neutral.
I think we could do an analysis on that and give you some numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to do more work like this to better answer questions like this, because I think that there's sometimes assumptions about, I think, what we're willing to do, and what I think we're pursuing every dollar that's available. I think that we feel like we can. We can go after, whether it's state grant, federal grant, private foundation. But to kind of get into this space, I think we need to communicate a little bit more effectively. And I think one of our takeaways from our budget workshop, and also in working with Jim, I think is to kind of drill down on this and provide more information so that it informs the conversation a little bit more effectively.
I think it's both providing more information, but I do think it's also looking critically at some difficult choices in these areas. Because, I think as we look at where we are, the expense trend for the budget is running probably $1 million to $1.5 million higher than the revenue trend, right? And we have the free cash this year to do it. But, if I'm looking at, 5.7 relative to a revenue trend for the town of generously 4, if that. If we are, we can afford that for 1 year, but the problem is that's a structural deficit that isn't going away next year, right? It's not going to be better next year. And so, my concern is that if we don't have these difficult conversations, and I think look at some of these difficult choices, the choices that will face us next year and the year after are going to be much, much worse. Again, I worry that we're looking at either an override attempt, which is, I think, a hard sell to make, coming very recently after we passed a debt exclusion for the building going up behind us, and the full burden of that debt exclusion is going to start hitting people. Not yet, it'll hit next year. We've seen a little bit of it, but the full amount hasn't hit yet. Or looking at making potentially catastrophic cuts. And, my perspective is making catastrophic cuts is something that I very, very, very much want to avoid. And so I'm asking these questions, and I guess asking that we, question some of the assumptions we've made in some of these areas, because I fear that if we don't, the choices that we're going to have to make next year and the year after are going to be catastrophic. And it's not just for the schools. I appreciate that we are going to go back and look at, some of the town budgets as well, because, we have a math problem that we've got to solve. To my mind, I appreciate, the work that's gone into and the commitment around increasing the user fees. I will say, and I'm saying this again as a parent who pays the user fees, candidly, I don't think they're high enough. Relative to what parents pay for club sports and relative to what we see in other communities. I'll tell you as a frame of reference, when I was in high school 30 years ago, the user fees we paid were more than what we pay in Wakefield. And so again, we have some hard choices to make, and I could kind of go through a couple of additional questions and a couple of additional revolving accounts, but I think you understand sort of the tenor of some of the questions, and the reason I'm asking them is to make sure that we're focusing on things that potentially are a little bit more controllable now to forestall some things that I think could be really problematic in the future.
Thank you.
Councilor Carney.
I've asked, excuse me, Doctor, I've asked this question before, but I'm sure we have safety nets for people who can't afford certain services. And what I'm going to say doesn't apply to every program, because you just mentioned one where some youths are mentoring other students, and I can appreciate that. That might be a difficult task to take. But we are an affluent community. At 80 years old, it's hard to afford Wakefield, okay? So if we're an affluent community, there are people who can pay more. And I'm not telling you how you could do that. I don't know how that works. But there are some programs where I think you could charge more. And the fact that people could afford it. I mean, these people have to get used to paying $100,000 a year to put their child through college if they get you accepted to a private institution. You find money to do that for your kids. And if we're an affluent community, why are we behind the scenes in regards to charging fees?
Yeah, it's a great question, John. I think, I do think, so we are keenly aware of median house price. We're keenly aware of how prices have gone up in the 11 years I've been here. Pay very close attention to it. We pay very close attention to costs, gas prices, for example. But there are families that can't afford, that are here, okay, that are living in town, that can't afford the user fees. And so I hear what you're saying.
And you're doing a great job in bringing these folks into town because we have a great system. It's a very attractive school system to come to. And people are going to move in, and we're going to have, I don't know how many units ahead of Lake, they're going to have more
486.
Right, so we're doing a great job in providing a wonderful educational system.
Yeah, we have another 400 units in the queue, right? And so, no, I'm keenly aware of our growth. I can tell you that it's impacted our pre-K, K and 1 numbers especially. So we're paying attention to this across the board, but our job is to advocate for all students, all families. So I hear what you're saying, Jonathan. I hear what you're saying, John. Jonathan, we raised user fees. We spoke at length about this.
Yep. No,
I don't think you're shy about sharing how our fees needed to go up. We raised our fees. I think, I can tell you, working closely with school committee, they were a divided group, right? And people in town haven't forgotten that, the fees went down and they were supposed to go to 0. And kind of, so that's why they haven't gone up in a decade. And people, no matter what we do, people pay very close attention to this, but we work very closely with students who need support in all kinds of different ways. So I do think it is an affluent town. I feel like to buy a home here is very expensive, but we have students that are renting, families that are renting, that need support. And so I think that our job is to advocate for them as well. So please just, maybe we need to kind of break down what that percentage is and what those costs are more effectively so that we can communicate more effectively with data, with information, so that you can kind of, we can make space for that.
Councilor Costas.
Thank you for all this. I have 2 quick things. One, am I reading this right, that the school bus fee is $280, one student $390 for a family cap?
No, 280,
It's 280 one way and
Right.
390.
Oh,
Round
390
trip.
round trip, I see. And that's
Having paid that fee as well.
No, I have to. That's why that was always one of those ones that kind of, was a hard check to write every year for me. But and there's no family cap on that. That's a per head. Okay. The other thing, and we talked about this, last time, I think when Joe was here talking about the new building. Can we be creative? We're about to demolish a building that has a lot of goodwill in town. Just think about the logo conversation that we had a couple of years ago and the passion around that. Is there no way that we can creatively try to figure out how to squeeze, even if we got $100,000 off bricks or lockers or sale of used equipment, something. And I don't know who the right person is to even take that on. Is there a marketing class at the high school? Is there, somebody somewhere who's hearing my voice who knows about this stuff? But the thought of just demolishing that building and sending everything, to Rwanda is hurts me, because I feel like there's an opportunity there that if we lose it, we'll be sad, even though it's not going to move the needle. But when we're talking about every penny counting here, it's just something that comes to my mind.
I don't have any information on that this evening. we could look into it, and we can certainly kind of come back
I mean,
and share.
we're not doing demo until, next January, I think.
Correct.
December, late December, January. So there's time, but if we all kind of tuck it away in our thinking caps, it just might be something that we can all collectively come to a creative solution about.
The high school principal was just talking about doing this as a fundraiser, actually for athletics, not to offset the budget, but for athletics. And that, it's a conversation. I think we can certainly talk about that. But we had talked about, is there a way to have an open house? Is there a way to, sell a brick? People, when they put down new gym floors or they rename a gym or they redo something, they sell parts of the floor or make a donation. So we're talking about a couple of different things, and I think we can kind of collect some more information and come back and talk about it.
I actually think you'd get more benefit if you get everyone a swing with a sledgehammer in some parts of the building.
Yeah.
Counselor Chrisley.
Just one quick question on the SPED budget. On the one slide, you have the OSD rate of inflation. What is that number?
Well, it's referencing the operational services division, and they set the rates for private approved special education schools.
So
go ahead.
It's a state group that works with the legislature to set a cap on how much special education out of district placements and tuition can increase.
Okay.
They've done a kind of horrendous job in the last year, or the last few years especially, but we're seeing kind of increases in direct pass-throughs or creative pass-throughs. What we're seeing now is, when I say creative pass-throughs, John, what I mean very specifically is, if we have a student that needs additional support, what an out-of-district placement might do is they might say, we're going to charge our faculty, an additional paraeducator or an additional teacher directly back through to the district. And so, I think everyone is being creative about how to get as much money as they possibly can out of sending districts. And so OSD hasn't been able to keep up with those types of changes because they're happening so quickly.
Okay.
But we just did a call with OSD in January.
This is operational services division?
Yes.
Okay. They're keenly aware that we're doing our budget probably 6 months ahead, so we don't have the new approved rates. So OSD has to set a percentage for communities like Wakefield in order to do our budget. We have to know what those 45 tuitions are going to be next year. So they set a rate of inflation so we know we can estimate what those tuitions are going to be next year.
And do they gather data from all the other school districts statewide?
Reportedly, they get a lot of feedback from the other school districts.
Yeah.
And from the superintendent groups. And so they also get a lot of feedback from the Mass Association of School Superintendents. And so there's a legislative group that we're a part of. There's also been kind of a direct conduit directly to them, but they haven't responded as quickly as we needed them to.
Right. Okay.
It's a great question, though.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Counselor Butler.
Yeah, so just following up on that, I feel like we're burying a couple of things here. One is you correctly highlighted the out-of-district placements, and it really is, over the last 5 years, it's more than doubled, and the population of out-of-district has gone up 30-odd%, so it's up 30%, and then clearly the pricing of it, and it's not straight inflation, I understand, it's more. But that's gone up probably 60 or some odd percent as well, which gets you over a doubling in the cost there. And in particular, next year it's almost $1.2 million of your $5.5 or $6 million increase, or of the $3.5 million increase. So it's roughly a third of the education increase is the out-of-district placements. And our student population hasn't grown. It shrunk over the 7 years, but it's grown a bit. It's grown 2% roughly over the last 3 or 4 years. I think the thing, and I get we're talking about like I mean, the biggest thing is next year, again, next year is what it is. And it's potentially a problem, and Jonathan talking about catastrophic, and John talking about we're a wealthy district. Well, like a wealthy district called Lexington just like slashed 60 some odd people and is not renewing 100 and some odd people who were early educators who are up. And I think that's my big fear for the mandate for y'all next year, and for me to the teachers union out there is we have a problem. We've increased our number of teachers fairly dramatically, and I know we're not up this year, so that can't change. But for fiscal 28, and this is to the school committee, if you give people a significant increase in salaries, we're going to end up having to cut people. And the way the math works around educators and union contracts, you're giving raises to the most senior people, and they're eating up a lion's share of that budget. And when you cut people, you have to cut the cheapest people. So you're cutting a lot more people than you would necessarily need to. I know. We're not at the point of talking about like layoffs, but just sort of shooting the first shot around this is like, if there's too big an ask next year, then there's going to be fewer educators, and that is the way the math is going to work. The only way, like all of our like stuff around the edges here, the only way to make this work is either you have to have a slower growth of expenses, or you have to have fewer people eating up those expenses. That's your two choices.
Well, I think there's a third choice. So, and I'll get to the third choice, but let's just be clear: we are not Lexington, right? Lexington's building a $700 million high school. Context matters, right? And so, and they have
twice as much money as us.
Okay, but true. they also have different staffing numbers as us, right? So. Yeah. So message delivered in terms of the catastrophic cuts. I don't think it takes moments to undo what has taken a lot of time to build, right? Yeah. To build. So the school system has gotten quite a bit of recognition in the past few years about gains that we're making and outcomes that we're making for students, right? The colleges that students are going to, the private schools their kids are getting into is one indicator. There are several. Right? We were recognized in the fall as being one of 3 public school districts. One of 3. The other 10, there were 13 total in the state, were charters. Right? So we're one of 3 public school districts that were recognized in regard to making gains with math and literacy. And so, again, message delivered around, are we aware? Am I aware that it takes moments to undo what it's taken time to build? No question about it. But context matters, right? And so when we get into the space of, and it's a soundbite, you know, Lexington is laying off 70. That's instructive. It is instructive, Doug, but we are not them, right? And we are not some of our surrounding districts, right? And so one of the things that we've done in regard to our collective bargaining agreements is that we've staged them, we've moved them out a year, right? So that to offset costs. Right? And so we've done a number of different things, and labor has kind of worked with us to help us in this area. So I'll leave it there. But I think the third thing that I was going to mention is the other part of this is the formula for Chapter 70 is broken, right? And so Chapter 70, so for the Chapter 70 funds that we get and for the unrestricted government aid that we get, it's just, I think the legislature is just not kind of weighing in or showing up in this space. I will also say that circuit breaker reimbursement is a formula that doesn't work, right? When you have costs going up at a rate that they are, for them to continue to reimburse at 75% a year late, you're in finance. What is that money worth? No, 75% of that dollar worth a year later.
I think you're right, and I'm not even like I think we've made the school department, the schools have gotten like measure. I've been here 23 years. I think they are held to a far higher standard than they were 25 years ago. No offense to any of the lifelong residents here, but He fired the first shot about $100,000 tuitions. But also, like, I think the other thing is I am struggling around this out of district thing. You know me. I joked about can we rent the houses somewhere else?
Yes. Yeah.
But
I will say, just to add to that, it is concerning. We're constantly looking at our trends for out of district, and there's a couple of different ways a decision will be made. We're really trying to limit students going out of district for procedural or compliance errors on our part. We're really trying to make sure that we're working with families, we're building relationships, we're offering supports early and intensely, and making sure our eligibility is where it needs to be, our eligibility determination is where it needs to be, because those can be trends you don't want to see in districts where you're looking at your students who have gone out of districts and you're seeing procedural error. And by that I mean lawyer, advocate, et cetera, caught the district not doing what they were supposed to do. And I think that we have largely worked with our principals, our special ed coordinators, our teachers to have that mindset of making sure that we're building those relationships with families early, and the work we've done around our early screeners, trying to identify students who aren't coming to us through early intervention, that are entering our school system, making sure that we're getting students the services they need early. Now, that's just one piece, just to try to make you feel better. We're trying to do everything we can, but then there are those cases where...
Is everybody facing this out-of-district problem?
I would say
students going dramatically everywhere, and are we getting... Clearly, we're getting somewhat price gouged because it's gone from $75,000 to $140,000.
Well, it is. And like Doug said, it used to be... I'm just kind of here representing special ed tonight, but I was formerly a special ed director, and it used to be that you would pay a cost, and that would be the all-in. It would be the tuition, it would be evaluation, it would be services. Now we are seeing, as Doug said, whether it's staffing shortages at private schools, they don't have the staffing that's needed, so they say, all right, the student can be accepted, but on this contingency, or they might have used to evaluate as part of the deal, and now they're charging districts, we can't evaluate, we need you to come and evaluate. So that's time from our staff going out to the placement to test. So there are things that are just challenges across the board. And like I said, the type of placement really matters. And we have seen, just the complexity of needs, services that, whether it's a residential with a one-to-one, and not to get into super details, but those are, those you're talking, $400,000 a year for one tuition. But those are the challenges, and I would also say the competition, because I do think other districts are in a similar spot. The competition to even get into placements is greater than it I think has ever been in my time. You might get to that point where you recommend that a student needs to get out of district, and that student's not getting into that placement 3, 4, maybe 6 months out sometimes because they can't find a spot. So all the while you're trying to increase services within the district to make sure the student's getting what they need. So it's very, very complicated. It can be unpredictable at times, but we're doing our best to try to just consult frequently, keep tabs on students and what they need and how they're progressing, and support where we can. But yeah, it's...
And the unknown is, these are the 45 that we know of. So the scary part is if someone moves in that we don't know and we didn't budget for. So we're trying to make sure that we can weather that storm, but we haven't had to go to the SPED stabilization account in quite a few years, but that's still on the town's books, and in case we had to go there.
Last thing, just how much is the $50 increase going to raise? Do we know?
For the user fees?
Yeah.
About $60,000. Now, we're assuming we still have 1,000 participants, and we're hoping that we're still going to have 1,000 participants. So that's what we're talking about pricing yourself out of a program, but we're looking at, we have about an 18 to 19% free and reduced population here in Wakefield. So those are families that that could potentially hide in plain sight. They need help. they're afraid to ask for help and might not just participate in things because they just are embarrassed.
Right.
So we work with families behind the scenes to make sure everyone can participate in our sports and everyone can participate in our performing arts. So we had a lot of conversations about making sure that that happens. So that's why it's a $50 increase for next year.
Yeah, I guess that's my thing. It's like, it would be like the pit guy raising the price of the pit pass by $10. It's gonna annoy a bunch of people, and it's like, you know, and I get it, you're looking for every dollar everywhere, but I'm like, you know, it feels like there's been a whole lot of discussion around this for 50 grand. It's not, it probably wasn't worth
60.
it. 60, sorry.
It's okay. Counselor Carney.
Yeah, I think we all agree you're doing a great job, and we're proud of our school system. The issue here is that, you know, we have a possibility of a complete turnover of our state legislators right now, and why aren't we speaking as a group? We're supposed to have a progressive government in Boston. Why aren't we speaking as one whole? Tell them we need the support of town meeting. We need home rule. They're giving out millions for different things and special projects, and they're getting the money and we're not getting that money. So why can't we speak as one group?
Can I speak to that just for a quick second?
Counselor Chines.
So I do think that I think that we are, and I think some of the advocacy we've done around, you know, the MMA reports has been a piece of it. I think, you know, the MMA plus the Superintendent's Association, the school committee associations, I think that everyone's speaking in one voice. I think the issue is, you know, I would go back to, you know, the federal government makes cuts and it all flows downstream. So Massachusetts is facing, you know, $3+ billion of cuts in federal aid out of a $60 billion budget. So that's a 5% cut in revenue that they also have to balance. And I think that's where we're all collectively struggling, because we're all dealing with the impact of that. I think, again, I want to reinforce, we have made, you know, in the years that I've lived here, amazing, amazing, amazing strides as a school system. Assistant Superintendent Morrow, hearing you talk about, you know, what we do in terms of special ed, it has been a complete sea change in the time that I've been involved in town government, in terms of the way that we're managing it, the work that we're doing to keep people in district, the way that we're collaborating with families in a way where we're finding solutions and not, you know, fighting and ultimately getting to litigation over placements, though I do know that does happen sometimes. The quality of the education we're providing is extraordinary. And I think, you know, Dr. Lyons, when you say it only takes a minute to undo that, like, that is absolutely right. And so I don't want this conversation to be perceived by the school administration, the school committee, the community as suggesting that, you know, there are different sides on this issue. I think we're all trying to get to the same challenge, which is that we know that our costs are increasing in a time where the dollars that we have at our disposal, try as we might, are not increasing at the same level. And how we manage that, I think, is going to be, it's certainly the biggest challenge, you know, that I've seen in my tenure here. And I think for a lot of us, even some of our career staff, probably one of the biggest challenges that we've had to work through as well. So appreciate that we've had this conversation, and hope that we, even though these conversations will be hard, I hope that we can continue to have them, because I think we need to make sure that we can weather this storm.
Dee?
So that's actually a nice segue, John.
So I didn't script that.
No, and then Jonathan, but I meant John. So tomorrow I'm in Boston at the MMA's executive board meeting, and afterwards we go to the State House and we have an audience with the Lieutenant Governor, and I was asked to speak on education. So the first thing I did was reach out to Dr. Lyons and ask him, what do you want me to say to the Lieutenant Governor about the upcoming budget about education? And he provided me with some talking points. So we are trying to, you know, be speaking with one voice. And I'm sure if he were invited up there to talk about public safety, you know, he would afford me the same courtesy. So I think we are all working towards the same goal. We all have the same interests, and how we get there is going to be our challenge.
Counselor Butler.
I think, and it's great that you two are on the same page. I would say that, and you raised the question of huge turnover in our delegation. I would say like around Chapter 70 funding and just in general the state funding and the state underfunding us, I would say help's not coming. Like they're not, like our delegation is not, it's going to get less senior and it's going to care about us as much as it always did, which is not a whole lot. So like, and if they're looking at Wakefield, like you said, Wakefield's gotten more affluent, so their pressure is not around us as a town. So I think there's not going to be a magic increase to Reading's level of Chapter 70. It's not fair and it's not right, but it's also not going to change. So I think for us, it feels like, and again, maybe you guys can lobby both our delegation and get things changed for us, but I would say that, relying on, fixing the unfairness of the state funding mechanisms, that's probably not something we can, put much hope into.
Any other comments, questions? Just echoing what everyone said. I mean, we are so proud of the schools. I think we're going to have difficult conversations, which is why we're doing the tri-board meeting on Wednesday. And, the presentation that Joe did earlier, people are invested in the school systems. I don't have kids in the school system. Very happy that we're having a new high school. Really proud that we took that vote. Happy to pay for it, but I think we have a responsibility to be mindful of the investment that we've committed and what the future looks like for our residents in our town. And so we will continue having those conversations with Dee and Liz and the school committee and you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Let's do budget 46, group health insurance.
Do you want to go back to the vote?
No, let's Karen's
People
here,
get
so
out
let's
of
get
here.
Karen
okay.
out of here, and then we'll do. I don't. Somebody's
Karen in
not
the
here.
corner.
Sherry, is someone online from the vote, or are we just internally doing the vote?
Yeah, nobody's online for the vote.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen Doucette. I'm the payroll and benefits manager for the town.
I can start discussing the group insurance budget, and Karen is our expert, so I will turn it over to her after I quickly speak. So the group insurance budget for FY27 does not include personal services as it has in the past. The personal services line item was moved to the creation of a human resources department. So when you look at the percentage increase over last year, it is going to be skewed. But if I was to add back in the personal services dollar amount for FY27, it would bring it exactly to an 8% increase. Right now it's reflecting a 5.6 increase on the tax levy side. So the appropriation from the tax levy is $14,725,364. And then we have a breakout for our gas and light department, for our water and sewer department, as well as school lunch. Last year was the first year that the school lunch was contributing for the cost of their insurance benefits. And I will let Karen speak to some of the numbers of enrollment and what have you.
So open enrollment is happening right now. It's the time of year when people can make changes to their insurance. And one of the things I love to do is meet with our employees one-on-one in groups. I've been going out to the police, the fire, the light, in the schools. I was at the Woodville School this afternoon talking about people about what they have for insurance, if they've been in the same plan for a long time. Because a lot of people have been in a Harvard plan because they know the name. Every year during open enrollment, we get people make changes. They're educated on what their best options are. The pool to make changes is growing smaller and smaller. We have a large population in the WellPoint products, and there's less and less people for movement. I've also seen the number of qualifying events increase over the past couple of years. In the past few months, we have had a few opt-outs, so that's always nice. You know, people opt out to go on to their spouse's plan, so it's always in flux, and we never know what it's going to bring because you don't know somebody's laid off, so that's an enrollment. The opt-out program has been a great incentive to save money. People do love that, and it's a great benefit to them. And we do also have a large portion of our employees who do not take our health insurance. So that's the fear that, you know, you never know how many are going to enroll in a year from year to year. And we build in for additional subscribers because we do currently have 17 employees that will be aging into the plan in the next year. So we hire younger staff and they turn 26 and they come onto our insurance. So it's a lot of changes, and you know, luckily no plan changes this year. So I'm just getting out there talking to people and explaining their options to them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Counselor Constance?
So the opt-out costs the town almost $246,000. What do we pay? How do we figure out if I say I am eligible but I'm opting out? What do I, as a town employee, receive for that?
So if you have family coverage, you have to have been covered for us for at least 6 months in order to be eligible to opt out. And we pay the employees $4,200 for a family and $2,100 for an individual coverage.
A year?
That's a year. It's paid out once a month to them. So when they look at, you know, the cost of their spouse's plan, if their spouse's plan is going to cost them $10,000 and we're going to pay them $4,200, it makes it, you know, a good incentive for them to switch. The problem is we do have great plans. We have benefit-rich plans, so it's hard for people to leave us too.
Counselor Chines?
Thank you. Just underlying costs of benefits increase. I'm assuming if the budget would be running at 8 with the salaries included, that the underlying cost is probably somewhere in the 8.5 range.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct.
And that's been pretty consistent. I mean, at least from what I understand, that's been pretty consistent with what we've heard from other communities outside of the GIC as well, if not higher in that case.
I've heard higher.
It's been much higher for communities outside the GIC, and that has really been a benefit to us being in the GIC. But like all health insurance in general, the costs are rising.
We're in a high trend.
The GIC goes out to bid in 28. So we'll see if they do anything to entice. I'm hoping that they look at some high deductible plans and some other plan design changes that would really not be a big impact on the subscriber, but a huge impact on our budget.
And I know they were looking at like limiting coverage for the GLP-1s. They did not move ahead with that?
No,
They did.
Oh, they did?
So
Okay.
as of July 1st, GLP-1s will not be covered for weight loss. They'll still be covered for diabetics. But
So
that was
that's-
the only plan change this year.
Got it. So that's why we're at 8.5 instead of probably 12 to 14.
Yes, 12 to 14.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dee, did you have something to add, or?
Oh, no.
No, okay. And then, do we have a FinCom liaison for this?
Is Don on? Sure.
He's in Ireland,
Don's in
I think.
Ireland.
Yeah, I think he's in
Yeah,
Ireland.
no.
There's no one online.
Nope.
I'm a member, Dan Sherman, I'm a member of the subcommittee on healthcare for the Finance Committee. We met last week and discussed this at great length. A lot of stuff you guys have just covered. We had, we think Karen's doing a great job of trying to save some money. One of the things that I did in terms of this discussion with the GIC is I've got an 8.1% increase this year, but because of the lack of changes and what the GIC wanted to do, I'm actually saying, okay, we got 8% roughly for 27. I've got another 8% for 28 because they're going to try to get it back, right? They got forced to reduce their budget, and I suspect it's going to come back with another large increase. So then it might become, quote, more, quote, normal. We've had a great run for the GIC, like 2%, 2.3% for like 8 years.
Yeah.
This year, we're looking at a 6% increase in that budget, and now 8 and probably another 8. So that's put a lot of pressure on us. The other thing that happens recently, we've had a lot of money come back from the healthcare group insurance budget because we're super conservative. We just built in a big piece, and then we get a nice amount of money coming back at year end. And we've got, a lot of money, many millions of dollars over the last few years. This year, it looks like we might get 400,000 rather than $1.2 million that we got the previous year. And then we're looking next year, we're guessing that, we might get 100,000 or 200,000 back. So those salad days are done for a while. But we support what's been going on with, with the department, what they're doing. We hope to get more people to opt out. That does save quite a bit of money, but yeah, we're stuck because the GIC is going to set the bills and we got to pay. Well, Finance Committee, we had a good meeting, I think, a lot of good information. So unfortunately, the outlook is not real good.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the group health insurance budget? Liz, when will we know what we're getting back? When do we find,
We will have a better idea probably at the end of this month, where we'll only have 2 more months. And, we will know after the close of the fiscal year, but we will have an estimate of what we will be able to turn back at the end of this month.
That's helpful. And then what's the number? There's no total, how many people do we cover under group and health insurance for the town?
Actives and retirees, we cover 1,383 members. Some of that is our retirees who both the retiree and the spouse is on a Medicare plan, so instead of a family plan, it's 2 plans. Of the active, we have 845 eligible members and 580 are enrolled.
Can I just ask, I know in the past we've gotten some of that detail around enrollments by plans and type. That might just be me, but I always found that helpful if we could get that, as we look ahead to next year.
The numbers tell the story a little bit too.
We have that information.
Yeah, that's a lot of retirees. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we cover more retirees than employees.
Yeah.
We have great benefits for our retirees, which is nice but expensive.
And that's common across Commonwealth, by the way.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve the group health insurance budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to keep Karen.
That's okay.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at budgets, so why don't we just finish up budgets? Liz, can I go to you about the vocational budget?
Absolutely.
I saw Dee run out, but can you handle that?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So for FY27, the vocational school budget, we have it broken out by Northeast Regional as well as Essex North Regional and the transportation costs associated with Essex North Shore Regional. So for the Northeast Regional, there is 2 pieces to that budget, and it is broken out by the operating assessment and then the debt assessment for the new building. So the total assessment, which is enrollment of 103 students, is $2,834,622. The operating portion of that assessment is $2,174,385, and the debt assessment portion is $660,237. So again, a total of $2,834,622. And in regards to in regards to North Shore, Essex North Shore Regional, We are, there are currently 7 students. We factor in 3 potential new students for FY27. So the average cost per student to Essex North Shore Regional is a little over $19,000 per student. And the requested amount for FY27 for the assessment piece is $241,799, which is an increase of $44,254 over FY26. And the transportation cost dollar amount for FY27 is $21,300, and that is an increase of $5,075 over FY26. So total with Northeast Regional and Essex North Shore Regional, we have an increase of $438,394 over FY26 for a total request of $3,097,721.
Thank you. Counselor Carney.
I'm guessing, but I'd rather know, the reason we're sending some students, the 7 students to Essex North Shore Regional? Is there
I think it's because
the programs.
The programs that they take aren't offered.
in that? So,
Right.
They have many agricultural programs.
Veterinary stuff.
Veterinary, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I remember in the past, it's actually very competitive to get in there.
It's very competitive.
So, but yes, they do agriculture and veterinary stuff that we don't do at our Voc. Counselor Chines.
Just a quick, you mentioned 103 students at Northeast Metro Tech projected for fiscal 2027. Is
Yes.
that, how does that compare, do we know, to fiscal 26?
I am not sure, but I can look that up and see where
Just
that
because
stands.
it seems like, at least based on the numbers, that, pretty much the entire increase was the debt service.
Yes.
I did let the superintendent know that we were putting this budget forward tonight, so he could be here to answer any questions. But we can get that information from you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, Liz, you're going to find it in real time, or you'll get back to Counselor Chines?
I believe I will have to get back.
That's
The
fine.
document that we received does not specify the enrollment prior to October 1. This is based on October 1 figures. And it does note that the FY27 equates to 18.21% for member communities, with a 10.61% increase just for the debt service.
Okay. Do I have a motion on this budget?
Yes, move to approve the vocational school budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. 6-0. Dee, can I, as we're talking about budgets, so the VOC, I don't remember the timeline of when it'll be completed, but it's soon.
I think for the fall.
I'd love to talk to the superintendent about us getting a tour.
Yes, and when I spoke with him, I said that you wanted a tour, so
Perfect.
he's going to do that.
The next 2 weeks would be great, but we could until it opens.
Okay.
I get an invitation, that would be great. Okay, moving on to budget 40, Medicare.
The Medicare budget for FY27 is increasing $78,869.13, which is a increase of which the overall budget request is $1,166,719.13, and Medicare is based upon salaries for those hired after 1986, and it is at a rate of 1.45% employer paid. So it is on total salaries for town and school.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Counselor Chines?
So just given the 1986 timeframe, so theoretically, if we had someone who had been here since like 1983 and they retired and we replaced them, we would effectively get hit with the Medicare cost increase.
That's correct. And I think we have maybe one or two.
I know at this point we probably have very, very few pre-1986.
It's very few, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, watch what you say.
You're not still, well, you are still working actually, not for the town.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the Medicare budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And budget number 1, town council budget.
The town council budget for FY27 is increasing $4,634.60. There is a decrease within our personal services lines for town council
Yeah, go ahead.
of $24,789.40. And we have an increase in contractual services of $29,424. And the increase in contractual services is related to training and education of $30,000. The other deduction is happening within the telephone line item, as we have seen in all the other departmental budgets.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments about this budget? Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve the town council budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Great, 6-0. Okay, so just to reiterate, as we close up the budgets, we are meeting on Wednesday, starts at 6 o'clock. It's at Town Hall on the first floor. There is a Zoom link. The agenda is posted. It'll be a lot of Dee and Liz kind of giving an update since last we met. It will be recorded so people can watch it. But you know what we've learned through this budget process is that we take a lot of these votes siloed. And so if you look at the first sheet that Liz and Dee have started to add to us, it's kind of an overview. And so it's nice just to, now that we've approved all these budgets, to kind of look at the overview, because we will have some tough decisions to make. And so it'll give us our next meeting to maybe kind of relook at some of those budgets. Dee?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Liz and I are working with Dan on the presentation so that we have a combined and a concise presentation, that we're not repeating each other. So we will be working on that, and we will present that to you on Wednesday.
Something to say, Councilor?
No, it popped into my head afterwards. Is the Medicare tax levy actually a pretty decent way of charting how we spend, what we spend on employees overall? Because it gets both the growth of the number of employees and it gets you your,
Yeah, to your point, what I do is I look at just personal services and where that's tracking, and I just multiply that total by 1.45%. And I'm usually within, 0.5% or so what the actual number turns into. So, yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you. So I think we've wrapped up our budgeting until Wednesday, and we will go back onto the agenda. Govinda working? That end?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's do
I can't get onto my folders, but I can get into
item 10, debt service.
Yes, so this article is different than what I was referring to while we were discussing it. That's $1 million that the council takes a vote in early fall, September, to put $1 million into the debt service fund. And so what this is it's an appropriation for debt service, and the appropriation for FY27 is $9,903,670. So $9,903,670.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? So do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve Article 3, debt service, for presentation at the May 4th town meeting.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. 6-0, thank you. Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department pilot.
The amount for FY27 for the pilot payment is $1,004,000.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve Article 4, Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department, payment in lieu of taxes, for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. We will go to supplemental. Article 5.
There's two. We are in need of two supplementals. Under this article, we are looking for the snow and ice deficit to be taken care of, and that deficit is $654,000, and that would be funded from free cash. And the other amount is for fire overtime, and it is $650,000, and that's coming from free cash.
Great. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve for presentation at town meeting Article 5, supplemental appropriations.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Going to item indemnification.
The amount being requested for indemnification is $120,000, and that's free cash.
Any questions? Councilor Constance.
Is this, I'm not having a memory that we do this every year, or did I just block it out of my head?
We did have this warrant article last year as well.
Same amount, 120?
It was 150, I believe.
And it was spent last year, it was 150 last year?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve Article 6, indemnity for presentation at the May 4th town meeting.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? D, and through you to Sherry. So in our Govinda, like all of the amounts aren't listed, they're X highlighted out. And I looked at the warrant and the number isn't in the warrant, but they'll be available, right, at, like, we're gonna update all of it.
They'll be updated, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so dollar amounts aren't usually in the articles, they're just in the motions, so we're just hashing out the motions, yeah.
Great, okay, but we'll have those, what we're voting on is what will be part of the motion at town meeting.
Yes.
Just want to clarify.
I hope it doesn't change.
Yeah, I don't remember
We've got
seeing
one more meeting if it does.
the XXX, so, I don't want you asking for more than we approved, or less. Less would be fine. Okay, so did you make a motion?
Yes, I did.
And we seconded it. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye. 6-0. Thank you. And item 14, a dog and other animals general bylaw.
So this is all me. So this is to make two changes to the dog bylaw. One is to increase the fines for unleashed dogs, 100, 200, and 300. We're just increasing the first increment. It's now 50. We're going up to 100. and then 200 and 300 are the same for the second and third offenses. And we're also deleting a sentence about that you can only be fined if you're immediately abutting any body of water. So we're removing that language so that if someone is, violating the dog leash law, or we're adding dog waste to that as well. So we have in the bylaw that you're not supposed to not pick up after your dog, but there's no fine. So we're adding a fine to that as well. And so we're hoping that we have a new brochure that is going out in the gas and light.
Yeah.
The gas and
I
light.
got it
Did you
today.
get it?
Yep.
Beautiful, huh?
It is beautiful,
Nice, yeah. Jen, our communications person, did a great job on this. But again, we will be having a new animal control officer. So at this point, we feel that the only way to really get people to abide by this is to fine for people that aren't obeying. And I will have some slides and some pictures for you for town meeting to show what the impact is it's having on our fields specifically. And it is a cost, so that when it's muddy, the dogs run across the baseball clay, it gets divots and it gets rivets in it, and our staff has to go out and fix it. So it does also have a financial cost to the town, as well as we have had employees bitten by dogs.
Pamphlet was well written. I mean, it was an excellent job.
I'm very much opposed to because again, we're in practical purposes, you're not going to end up finding people for dog poop. You're going to find them for being off leash.
Mm-hmm.
And off leash isn't really the problem we were looking to address with this. It was a tangential part of the problem, but off leash isn't really. We're overestimating dog bites in the town. It's really an issue of dog waste, and you're not going to find anybody for that, and you're not going to you're going to end up finding people for having their dogs off leash, which fine, but it seems like it seems. I think increasing the fine feels overly punitive if you're going to start fining people, but that's just me.
The fines are all the same, except for that first level is going from 50 to 100.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get fined the first time, you're probably not going to get fined. There's probably not many people who've gotten a fine and then are going to risk the $250.
Then that's good.
Yeah,
I think there's an embarrassment part of this too.
What are you talking about? This is your complaint. This is your thing around those fields, and it's I think it's a canard. It's overemphasizing, and it's really again. I think we're underestimating the dog owner population here, and I know we have a dog park, but the dog park is skimpy at best. I think again, I think it's fine. I don't think I just don't think you're going to solve your problem here unless you really start heavily ticketing for off-leash owners, and then you're going to you're going to annoy a bunch of people.
I think part of what we said was the education plan. I have not got my pamphlet yet. So I think, the amount of complaints we got about it, it was pretty vocal. Somebody got bit. I think just educating that it is actually a problem and people are kind of breaking bylaws is something that, we needed to be better about. So we'll see. Hopefully nobody gets bit again.
How much do we collect? Like last year, do we have a ballpark? Ish? From not picking up after your dog.
I mean, I think it's mostly zero. I don't think
they were.
Enforcing, yeah.
Animal.
I mean, I would be surprised if they did fine.
Yeah.
No, there was small animal control revenue, but they weren't fining for not picking up after your dog.
Okay, well, it'll be a good point of comparison, I guess, this time next year.
I think it's going to force people to get educated. And if we do a little good publicity on it, get the sports teams behind us, that's where I was hearing it from the most. And when you go out in the fields and they're lining the fields and the kids are going to be running through dog waste. It's not right.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve Article 12, dog waste bylaw amendment for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? 5-1. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item E1, our warrant for May 4, 2026.
Move to approve the town meeting warrant for May 4th, 2026.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? Anything? And can we just announce the dates so everyone is aware of town meeting? Sorry, I'll do it. So our town meeting starts on May 4th. I might have said this earlier, but I'm just going to repeat it. Starts at May 4th. We're at the Galvin Middle School, 525 Main Street. We start at 7 o'clock on Monday, May 4th. We never know, but we could go into a second day. The second day would be Tuesday, May 5th. Starting at 7 o'clock also. If we need to go to a third day, I'm looking at you, Sherry, the third day would be Monday,
May
the 11th. I did my math. The 11th. So we don't know, but there's productions going on at the Galvin Middle School, so this is the way we have to do it scheduled. It is likely spring town meeting usually goes at least 2 days, so plan on Monday, Tuesday. And then if we need a third day, we would go to the following Monday.
Yeah, we do have a fourth day, but that would be the 13th.
I don't think we've ever gone to the fourth day.
We've
so
never.
That's why
Let's
I'm
not break that tradition.
After the shortest one.
I'm
that
not
would
promoting that.
So we had a motion and it was seconded. All in favor? Say aye. Great, thank you. We have a bunch of appointments. Thank you everyone for applying, putting in applications to either join a new committee or renew your term on a committee.
Can I do these as one motion?
I think, yes, right? Yes,
All right.
please.
Here goes. Sherry, let me know if I miss anything.
Absolutely.
Move to appoint Shane McCarthy to the Advisory Board of Public Works, Sandra Bowen Butel and Colin McCarthy to the Arts Council, Eric Reed to the Cable Advisory Committee, Dan Calori and Tracy Cleversey to the Capital Planning Committee, Daniel Benjamin and Lois Benjamin to the Commission on Disabilities, John Giafrancesco to the Economic Development Council, Maya Sullivan to the Environmental Sustainability Committee, Nancy Bertrand to the Historical Commission, Gerald Barrett, Susan Hickey, and Richard Stevens to the Recreation Commission, and David Hatfield and Thomas Lucy to the Zoning Board of Appeals, all for terms to expire on April 30, 2029.
Second.
Except for the Economic Development Council. That one has a term ending October 30th, 2020.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw the 2029, so yes.
That's okay. Yeah.
All except for John Giafrancesco to the Economic Development Council for a term ending October 30th, 2029.
Yeah, very good.
Motion
Thank
made.
you.
Do I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. 6-0 unanimous. With thanks to everyone that applied. You will be hearing from Sherry. You need to go and get sworn in. So make sure you do that before you can go to your first official meeting. And we thank you so much for volunteering. Item G1, Council on Aging donation.
Move to approve Council on Aging donations in the amount of $350 from various donors with thanks.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye. 6-0. Thank you. Item 2.
Move to approve donations in the amount of $1,055 to the BB Library from various donors with thanks.
Second.
Second, great. All in favor, say aye. 6-0. Thank you so much. Item H.
Move to approve the Town Council meeting minutes for March 23rd, 2026.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye. Great, thank you. 6-0. Do I have any announcements?
At this hour, no.
No, great. Do we have item 8, matters not anticipated for the agenda? I don't see any. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Our next regular town council meeting will be Monday, April 27th. Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
was taking your transistor radios out so you could listen to the World Series.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
So you
wow.
had your patch picked up, you screamed down the line and said, hey, how are the Yankees doing, man?